We are
No
live
supervision.
and we are hot.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, we're here. As you can see, everybody, you know, Brick and I like to get a rolling start. So here we are. We're rolling.
Yes, we
You're
are.
gonna see new look, new logo. Things have been kind of in flux, changing. We've been off for a couple of months. I'm going to spare them the details of everything that went on behind the scenes, but we parted ways with Ben. Everything's cool. We're still good friends. We love Ben. Ben did an incredible job quality-wise, visually, audio, I mean, everything. So no need to go off into the weeds about that, but it ended okay. We're all good. But just a new chapter, a new way of doing things. So I guess what I'll do is I'll introduce Michaela so everybody knows like who she is and what's going on, but we can also cover a little bit about Arbor Expo and things like that. So just in an effort to try something a little different today and give you guys just some different thoughts, different angles. We notice a lot of businesses when we get approached by folks at the shows and things. There's a lot of small family businesses out there. A lot of second generation, third generation arborists, which I find fascinating, and we'll unpack that a little bit as we unfold the conversation. But this is my daughter, Michaela. So your mom always told me never ask age, so I'm not going to.
Oh, whatever.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Right? But anyway, so Michaela's my daughter. Currently doesn't do tree work. She's an art teacher, an incredible artist, and I'm proud of her for that. She does incredible work. Designed the logo, which is cool. But grew up in the family business. Our shop is attached to our house property, so this has been a thing that we thought we may like to unpack, and also we've been really, Brick and I, trying to get another female on. So we really feel like we are kind of killing the proverbial two birds with one stone.
Exactly.
By having covering
or more birds.
Yeah.
Depends on how you look at it. But.
So, welcome to episode 20 of the Aging Arborist. Knocking the rust off a little bit here and just kind of getting to it. So, welcome, Brick. Welcome back.
I feel like I'm being interviewed.
So I'll kick it over to you for a second if you have anything you want to say, and then we'll kind of get into some questions and things of that nature.
Yeah, so just because I was just give my perspective. Obviously, I know like this much about you because of the time that you were in trees.
Yeah.
So just so the listeners know about that. So everything that's going to unravel today is all going to be news to me as well.
Cool.
But yeah, just to kind of piggyback off of what you said, is I just want to explore a little bit on it before we go off. Is the new chapter concept?
Okay, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm sure all three of us can, or everybody can be on the same page as far as dealing with changes, whether you do it on purpose or it happens to you. And I would say weirdly, or eerily maybe, it just so happens that we're getting out of winter, going into spring. So at least for myself, I can speak to myself that you're just going through some changes in the last like 4 months. Struggle, but not struggle. Not something I created. Things that happen, but not too bad.
And you're talking personally.
Yeah,
right?
personal. Yeah, personal.
Yeah, just for the listeners, just kind of like.
No, I appreciate it. No, on a personal level. Nothing bad, but still changes that have to be made regardless. And in those changes is where you can appreciate the new chapters. And that's what I just wanted to emphasize that for the listeners, because the ones that do listen often, or the most listener, do recognize the gap. There's a question mark there.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like, hey, everything cool? What's going on? And it's like, everything is cool. Because in the grand scheme of things, we all have a roof over our heads. We all can still eat. We still have connections with people that we love, family and friends, and community. So everything's good in that way. So I just want to draw gratitude and attention to new chapters.
No, I love that. Great point. This is why Brick and I are friends, right? Like it's digging that little bit of depth. No, you're right, and I think the consensus has been throughout the industry, certainly where we get winter, this season was a challenge for all businesses that work outside, you know, and then I sort of knew there would be this pent up demand and all of a sudden we'd be rolling. And I think the cool thing about change is it can bring an element of fear of the unknown, of what may be next. But if we allow ourselves to wonder and be curious, it can also bring a level of excitement of what's new. Yeah. And this whole thing, unpacking and finding this this studio, this Cadence Creative Studio in Pittman, I'm giving them a plug on the podcast right now. But just a cool like first interaction this morning. Obviously, several emails and text messages and things of that nature. But so far, it's been an incredible experience. So. Also, you and I talked about not trying to rush and just go, hey, we need to kick out an episode. Yeah. I was committed to kind of just letting it unfold. And I knew eventually we'd get back here, but also didn't want to force things. Yeah, I wanted that sort of natural flow to kind of happen. So he may want you a little closer.
Oh, sorry. I'm like lounging over here.
No, it's all good. Like, yeah, you're good. I just want to make sure.
Like
you're a teacher.
I know. So Teachers make the worst students, though.
You can probably move things in and out, but I have been PTSD.
Gosh, did he like stand there and correct me?
Oh, he was just funny because you know. But I mean that's
right.
That's
you
why
have to be.
That's why the quality
he's
was
an artist
what
of
it
his
was.
craft.
Exactly. So
since you're the guest with that topic, is there anything that
of chapters?
Yeah, chapters, change.
Yeah, great.
You know, anything that like your personal and not to get too deep.
No. I mean, I love like the poetic analogies that you guys share because it's just like, you know, it's just like you don't expect that from tree guys, you know. Chapters, I always say life begins outside of your comfort zone. So everybody hates change, and while we understand that change is necessary, we don't like it. Nothing crazy. I mean, you know, chapter change wise here. Just kind of, well, I mean, I did just have a second kid, so I started working back up again in February. So just kind of adjusting to that, and now I'm hitting my first break since I've been back, and so it's just been nice to kind of like cruise a little bit and not just be like, you know, waking up at 6 a.m. and doing the thing that everybody does because they have to, you know, put a roof over their heads.
Yeah, correct.
Well, it's funny you said because you're like, not much here, and I'm like, wait a second,
I know. Well,
you're adding children. Like, what are you talking?
I know.
Yeah.
A whole second human being.
No big deal.
Biggie.
Yeah. We just created some life over here. You know?
I mean, it's a big. I mean, obviously, it's a big important information, but I think it will resonate as we navigate this, you know, this podcast episode.
Yes.
So I know it needs. Just had a second kid. Just returned to work. Like it's a big deal.
Nothing crazy. Just another chapter.
Exactly.
Just turning the page.
I mean, it's cool that you have that. Honestly, that you have that perspective. Like it's, you know, you've gotten to a point where you just realize like this is life.
Mm-hmm.
There is no. And I think that's why it's important sometimes to lean into the stillness, right? When we get it, recognize it. And that was a thing, I'll just circle back, right? That was a thing this winter, because in the past, being 33 years in business, I have had some very, very difficult and lean winters. And I could feel myself, I won't say like stressing, tantruming almost inside, like, but there's certain buttons I cannot push. And this winter happened. And I remember sitting, we have a black walnut dining room table. And I'm sitting there, have a cup of coffee in my hand, and I'm looking out at the bird feeders, and there's snow. And I'm thinking creatively. I have like some verses coming to my head, like just to write down. And I thought to myself, you know what? This is what the stillness can bring. And so rather than fight it and get all worried and stressed about the work that's not being done right now, what I really should do is take a deep breath and be in the pause. It's that, like, biblically, right, we talk about that Selah. So you'll read through Psalms, and it'll say, like, Selah. And that's like, it's like, okay, you just read something powerful, pause with it. Yeah. And so that was something I tried to do. I'm wrecking the place here. That was something I tried to do this winter. And honestly, I mean, I'll be 61 in a couple weeks. Not sure why it took me that long to sit with that, but I had a pleasant winter, and I really, sounds a little odd, but I really like myself in those moments. Okay. I like who I am when those gaps are bigger, the money's not as good.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not grinding and bringing in revenue. So that's a different game. But just maybe there's a lesson in that for someone. If there's a pause or you have a moment or you're in your car and for a second the stream on your phone is quiet,
Lean into it.
lean into
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
Be present with it.
Yeah.
I think that's been the hardest thing for me just in general. Like taking the pause and like being okay with like not accomplishing anything for the day, because even accomplishing nothing is accomplishing something. You're resting, right?
Yeah. Well, and especially if, in your case, you have small children, because those are moments where you can just really, lean in, right? You know what's cool? This brings me to because I have a list, and Brooke and I both, we have prompts.
Sure.
And it's just so I don't forget
Right.
a line
Yeah.
of questioning. So this is my kid. You grew up with me doing tree work. Family business. This is a challenge for a lot of folks, not just business owners, people that work in general. I mean, you have a job that you're responsible to be at so many hours a week.
Sure.
And what's unique about you as well, and a lot of guys and gals in your situation, is when there's a storm, your hours ramp. And so that balance of like being there in the moment for your kids and your spouse are challenged. So as a kid of a person who owned a business, and this is raw and real, like I'm just curious what because we don't have these kind of talks,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
here we are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
What your memory or like what is your recollection? Maybe I should be careful what I'm asking, but in terms of like time spent, did you feel like it was a good balance? Did you feel like I was able to? I'm laying it bare here, but I think these are conversations that business owners
Are scared to ask.
struggle with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in particular, and I think dare I say, men in particular go heavy into the provision. And so they provide and they think that satisfies their need as a man.
Right.
Which it does.
It does, but I
But
have.
it's not the only part.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have strong opinions about that because
No,
my
yeah.
old man wasn't around much.
Yeah. Correct.
So I'm just, do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah.
Like,
So yes. Yes, the answer is yes. Don't worry. I'm not going to like lead you down a road or
No, that's
anything
cool,
like that. No, I felt like you always made the time. I think having the business on the property also really helped. Like I
Sure.
grew up with like the firewood in the backyard and I would climb the firewood piles and he had like a little Weasty T, right? Like
saddle, yeah.
And so I would climb up on like, what was it, your gold pickup truck?
Yeah.
And like he set up a rope in the side yard and like I would run and jump off the thing and swing and like that was my first saddle experience. I remember loading firewood in the back of your big green truck.
Yeah.
I loved that big green truck.
Yeah.
And I want to touch on the storms thing because
Yeah.
I always used to get really excited for thunderstorms. I've always loved the rain. I'm a pluviophile. But anytime
Well,
like
wait.
Big word. Yes. It means you
a
are
pluviophile,
obsessed
it means
in
you
love
love
with
the
rain.
rain.
Okay.
You know.
I know.
This kid reads like
Yes.
perfect
her
day to
house
have me
is a
on
library.
chapters.
Yeah.
Go. Yes.
No, but
love
I always got excited for like, for our family's sake and for your sake because I knew that it always meant like it would bring in work.
okay,
But
sure.
I also always saw it as like my daddy's a hero because he goes out and he pulls trees off of people's houses.
Okay.
No, like I'm not even like just.
No,
that's
No,
literally
it's-
like the.
I love it. Yeah.
It's
I
just-
wasn't expecting to struggle swallowing. It's like, all right, okay.
Sorry, I had a
Okay.
feeling you might get a little choked up.
No,
at
it's
that
good.
One, but it's the
No.
truth. It's for real.
Yeah.
I'm not just
That's cool.
sugarcoating
No, that's
that.
cool. That's
So
awesome.
you, because I have kids, and pretty much what he's saying, it's the same thing. Like when the storms come, something happens. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Gratefully, I have a wife who understands that, and then literally picks up the slack
Sure.
in the process. So I don't actually have to worry about anything
Sure.
while I'm doing that, because
Right.
that's also a big thing. But just I guess press a little bit. Like, did you ever feel like, Dawn, he's at work?
I
You
mean,
know, like-
occasionally, like,
Yeah.
parents want to be with children want to be with their parents. Like, I even see it with my own kid. Like, when I'm leaving, he's like, no, mommy, don't go. And I'm like,
Yeah. Oof,
like,
yeah.
and that's even just like going out. That's just like general parental guilt,
Yeah.
right? But like, I also think that has to do with the fall, right? Like, because of the sin of man, we have to work in order to survive. And like, that is like the caveat of like, we don't we don't desire to. It's something that we have to like push ourselves to do daily, and that's part of like the human struggle. I do have like memories of like, you know, we would go on a vacation for like winter management or something like that, and it's like the ice storm would come, and I'd have to watch him go through like the stress of that. And I guess I'm more of like an empath, so like I would feel that stress, not like he was putting it on me, but just like I wanted to make it better. Like I see people's pain and I want to be like, oh, let me like help you with that.
You're welcome.
You know? Yeah. Thanks. It's a fabulous trait. I love it.
I you know, I don't like to give myself titles and nicknames or labels, but I do feel the same way that you do as an empath, or you know, you take on.
Yes. It's both a blessing and a curse. To feel things so deeply.
Correct. Yeah, like he's not putting it on you. He's doing his thing, but you're like, like I wish I could fix that.
Right. Right. Like just even like, yeah. And I think that kind of like, not on purpose, but kind of back ways helped me to just kind of let things go a little bit more. Like, yeah, sometimes like crap hits the fan and you get like anxious or nervous, but I just feel like I have had like a little bit of an easier time, like having like a display of like high stress situations, because like we all handle stress differently.
Sure.
And I feel like you, the little things kind of add up and they cause that larger cracking, or like, I don't want to say explosion, but it's just like that's where you hit your breaking point faster. Whereas when you have like those big moments, like a big storm or like a car crash or like something more crazy is happening, like you can brace that a little easier and just kind of rest in the fact that like God's got this. Like I'm okay. I have to remind myself all the time. I know that I have my faults, like we all do. Yeah. But it's just easier to just kind of just find my zen.
It is weird because I relate to that. I the little annoyances throw me off kilter more than some.
Than a storm.
Almost like like a tragedy. Like, you know, it's just I'm trying to do something here, and it's like, you know, we got a flat. Okay, well, let's fix it. And this won't start. And you're just like, you're having.
And the trailer
went
backwards down the driveway into the garage door and hit the car.
Yeah, those kind of things.
Which by itself would be like, all right.
Right, real life stuff. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Do you, again, this is because it's one of my questions, obviously second generation, right? You growing up in it, was that, I mean, it's kind of weird, but was that your thought? Like, this is what I'm going towards?
Like end goal, like
it's already it's the property next to you. You're already playing there. Like, is it? Did you feel the lure?
Of course.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Of course.
Yeah.
I'm like obsessed with trees and dirt and stuff, and you know, just because I paint, you know, doesn't mean I don't want to climb the tree too.
Yeah.
That was a really fun thing to step into, and I don't remember how it like started, how it was decided that I was. I mean, poor college kid. I need money. I'm nannying, you know, and then I'm like, I guess I started. I don't remember how we had the conversation.
That's kind of why.
Well, I just want to back up and ask, and like, because one of the things I had written down was, you know, and this is just cool conversation, is what is your earliest, and you actually did hit on it, but what is your earliest memory, and I'll break it into two, your earliest memory of being involved with me working? Like, what is your earliest memory of work? Not working on a tree job, but like, what is your earliest memory, I guess, of what I did?
Yeah.
Like, what is your earliest? When did you go, hey, my dad works with trees? Can you project back to that, or it just?
I have a lot of memories that I could probably be told, like, how do you remember that you were 2 or something like that? I couldn't say, like, I was 2 years old.
Sure.
But I do have vivid memories of, like, I remember throwing firewood with you and Mom, actually, into the back of your green truck. I remember her hitting the back of the truck, like, I don't know if you had just gotten it lettered or something, but she like hit a letter and you were like, you dented my letter. I have a memory of that. I have memories of jumping. It wasn't like bad. It was just kind of like, I don't know, it's like your brain stores like the weirdest quirks.
No, agreed,
And I do remember visiting out on the crew. I remember when Visikahama had you on for the thing.
Whoa,
that was a fun one. And then we went home and we watched it afterwards. So he used to, what was it called?
So this is really cool. So Visikahama, maybe you recognize the name. So he was
a news guy or something, right?
Well, what he was first was a football player. He was an NFL player. He was he was a special team return guy.
Oh, and at one, this is the guy that you had work with you? Is it?
No.
Okay, good. Yeah. I don't.
So he's Samoan.
Okay.
And he was a He was a special teamer, a kickoff and punt returner.
Okay.
And at one time was actually one of the highest ranked of all time in his field.
Yeah.
So he finished his career in Philly as our kickoff return guy or whatever, and got on the news. So he would do like sports and whatever, but he had this thing called Vi's Challenge.
Okay.
And it was almost like Mike Rowe, Dirty Jobs.
Got it. Okay.
So people would email in or send a video and say, Vi, I challenge you to do my job, this and this. So I thought it would be cool to have him come out and do tree work. And so, so we had this client, Mrs. Boson, who was a retired teacher. She was in her 80s at the time. So, and you were little because Mom was carrying Madison, my middle one, on her hip. So I challenged Vi. Vi came out. I had a rope set in a tree, big oak. I pulled the bucket truck off, so he climbed up on the cage, and I made him body thrust.
Yeah.
And it was cool because I felt super respected because here's this like dieseled up like NFL like professional athlete.
Yeah.
And he goes to get off and he looks at me and he goes, Are you kidding me? And I'm like, yeah. So I show him how to like use his hips and all, and he works his way up the tree and he gets up and he's like, I'm Batman.
Yes, I remember him saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
I also
yeah.
remember when they watched the footage back, they were like, Vi, I'm surprised they found a helmet to fit your head.
Yeah. So it was funny because he goes, I have an issue with hard hats. And I'm like, what? And he's like, and I had a Petzl, Ekron Rock, I think it was called, and I had it maxed out and it just fit him. He wasn't a big dude, but he had a coconut for a head. Like, but he was just, I mean, that's the nature of the Samoan people. They're just diesel. Like that's And but he gave me so much respect. Like he got down off the truck and he grabs my forearms and he's like, bro, man, you do this every day. I'm like, yeah. He's like, mad respect. And he's like, every time I see guys working. He's like, every time I see a guy doing this now, I'm going to remember this moment. So it was like this element of like validation. It was
really
wicked cool. And somewhere I have the VHS.
Oh boy.
With that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Telling your age.
Yeah, because we recorded it, I think, off of the TV.
Yeah.
It was a little like, maybe like a little 3-minute spot they would do as a human interest story on the
3
news.
minutes for news, but lifetime.
Yeah.
For both of you guys.
Yeah.
Or whoever else was there.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember you coming out to my school too. I think you went to Walter Hill.
Yes.
And I was in preschool because I was in that little building with Miss Riley.
Yeah.
And I remember great grandmom and mom driving by me like, do you want to come watch Dad? And I was like, I wanted to be at school every single day. I didn't want to miss a day because I thought I would get an award for perfect attendance. And I do regret not going. But then he came and visited me when I was in 2nd grade. And well, shall we go into that one?
Hey, so yes, but let me So
we don't have to. Like,
no.
We can travel.
I'm totally cool with it. But I want to take a pause here because I think it ties what we're talking about together. Like we're reminiscing about family stories, but I want to be purposeful in reaching out to people that are listening that are trying to balance work life that have children. I have given a talk multiple times. It's called About Time. And I run into this whole thing about how we manage time and how we have a finite amount of time each week, how many hours, and when you break out sleep and you break out work and your balance. And so I do this whole talk. And what I say is a lot of this interaction is about intention. Because I also remember when you and your sister were in dance recitals that I leaned in there and worked backstage too, changing scenery. And I say all this to say I had one guy come up to me. I did a talk at TCIA, this talk about time. I did it at Expo one year. And it's different than your average like tree guy talk. But I had a gentleman come up to me and almost in tears that his son played the piano and he had never been to a practice or whatever. He's like, I'm always out grinding the tree business. And I said, hey, listen, it's not about you being at every single practice. It's really not. It's about being intentional about doing certain ones. And I said, you should be at the recitals. But if once in a while, once a month, whatever that looks like for you, you break away from the day-to-day and you show up at the kid's practice, it's going to be so impactful for that kid. And that time you never get back.
Right.
And so my encouragement is for those of you that are trying to balance and you think that, like, I am so blessed by the relationships that I have with all three of you guys. And I like to think a lot of it had to do with just, you know, I suffered from my dad being gone so much that I probably went so far the other way. But the fact is, my relationship with you and your brother and sister is solid, and I think it's because of that.
Yeah.
So the message to the listeners is, yes, you have a duty to provide, and you should be, but being intentional about making time for things that are important. On the other side of that scale, there are things that people in your life that love you and need your attention and love. It's important to sow into that. So I just want to encapsulate, like, take what we're talking about, because the stories are fun.
Yeah,
of course.
But, you know, and like, I remember because I forgot, I know where you're going. The first one, I did a climbing demo where I actually set a rope in a tree and the kids were in a big circle, and it was like 5th and 6th grade, and I foot locked and got up and I talked to them. I was showing, like, there are people that take care of the trees and things like that, and that was impactful. But then I did a seminar one time. I'll let you, because I was goofy.
Let me just set the scene for you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Fire Marshal Bill?
Yes.
Okay, Jim Carrey. He's got his gums and his teeth like this, and he's got his pants pulled all the way up, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So, a 2nd grader sitting amongst my classmates, and I'm all excited because my dad's gonna come talk to my friends about trees.
Yeah.
And he walks in, and he's got wood chips in his mouth for teeth. He's got his hard hat pulled down, like his ears
took
are
the
sticking
liner
out.
out of it.
That's right.
So it
Okay.
was like
Yeah, so it's like right here. Yeah,
And he has his pants pulled away. You guys want to learn about trees? And all of the eyes just turn, and I'm like, I've never seen that man before in my life. I don't know what we were talking about. But it was really fun because they did. I think that was when you guys did like a demonstration with like tree rings and growth and stuff.
Yeah,
and
I handed out paper plates.
Yeah.
And had the kids draw rings and talked about how the tree stores and grows annual rings. And the reason I did that was for obvious reasons, to get their attention. I walked in and the kids were like, what is
Who
going
is this freak that
You
they
know?
just brought into the building?
Yeah. And then eventually I broke character. I was like, okay, you know, but Desiree was working for me back then. So that's my wife's sister.
I was like 8 or 9.
And so that's, you know, that's in the very early years
That
of,
was when we were still in the basement.
yeah.
Yeah.
We hadn't built a building or bought the property next door yet. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's so the 2nd generation thing started
Pretty young.
comedy
Yeah,
/ fun.
In the blood.
Yeah,
Runs
absolutely.
thick in the blood.
Well, it's funny because I remember hearing that. I would hear that sometimes, like, oh, you know, this and this is a 2nd gen, and this and this is a 3rd gen. And I used to kind of, I think I would poo-poo it, probably because I wasn't that. And I was like, I'm like, okay, so what? You're 2nd gen. You're no better than me.
Yeah.
I'm learning and I'm growing. And then you watch your kids, and you know how quickly kids learn.
Slate.
So they're assimilating. Yeah.
Fast.
So you're watching it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in it now. To the point, which is awesome. To the point, I woke up from. Yes, I take naps. So just so
So
we're
do
clear.
I. There's no shame in it. Naps are amazing.
I'll take 3 minutes, 9 minutes. You know, depending what it is. But I did a quick nap. Woke up just to make sure where the kids at, what's going on, and sure enough, Slate had already. Because I leave a line in the tray, so he can put his. You know, throw line.
Yeah.
He'll put the eye, plastic, Michoacan wrench. So he's all geared up, ready to go. So I just open the door. I'm like, "You good?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Did you double check? Because it's canopy tied, you know, through the rope. So you double check it's the right end, not the wrong end." And he's like, "Yeah, I did." I'm like, "All right, see ya."
Aw.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 11.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
great.
and like, just sure enough, he went out, limb walks. So I mean, because the
Wow.
tree's set up like a wood climb tree, so it's always ready.
Prepping him for comp?
Yeah, that's literally though. Like, I mean, it's just natural that that's what's gonna happen first, which we'll dive into later. But the point I'm getting at, he is 2nd generation, and it's not. And I never looked at it the way you did, as far as being like, what value does that have? But I just looked at it as like, naturally, the 2nd and 3rd generation, if they're into it, will have a path
Sure.
of decisions that they don't have to make and learn by trial and error. That's how I looked at it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So, like, you know, we always bring up the Chisholms, Steve Chisholm Sr. He learned a lot of mistakes, was able to get his two sons to not have to do most of those mistakes. Some of them they're going to have to deal with this fun.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, he's senior, you know what I mean? But my point is, by the time we got to the third generation, there's a lot of things they don't have to do to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's what it's always been for me, so.
And it's a couple things. One, I popped up in my pictures the other day was a picture of Mason, who's now out kind of like running the team.
Yeah.
And he's on the mini. He's on a mini skid. And it's probably my first or second one that I owned. He can barely see over the dashboard. You know, his head's like, his chin is like at the thing, and his controls are here. And I'm like, do this, do that, work. So first what I did is I showed him, so I did it. Then I got him and put him in front of me and made him put his hands on it. And I worked the controls with his hands on it. And then I stepped off and I watched him, and he was unloading trees that we were doing some planting projects. And to watch the kid run a machine now, it's like
attached to him.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
an extension of his body. He is so gifted, but it's that.
That's the second generation.
And
you know what I mean? That's
correct.
what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
He's not better than you. You know.
And the thing of it is, I think not having ever seen it or experienced it, it was like, and I've told you about this with me skiing. Like I started snow skiing at 3 years old.
Correct. Yeah.
And so when I put skis on, I mean, she'll tell you like it's freakish. It's
like walking.
Yeah. It's like, how does this person like these big long skis, and it's just so comfortable because second generation skier. You know, my family made me grow up skiing, and it's kind of the same. So their brains are wiring, and they're firing and wiring synapses and neurons, and you're catching them at that age and wiring in skills.
Yeah.
And because you're the parent and you doing it and you're exposing them to it.
And helping them eliminate some of those fears too, that like as later down the road, like you're a little bit more apprehensive of. Like I'm comfortable enough with the mini, but like the mini wasn't something that we had when I was a kid.
Right.
We were loading firewood by hand in my day, you know? But Mason had the benefit of having some of the machines, so.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
Well, it's funny because she talks about the memory with the wood, and this is just another thing too. And this is what I love what you do. It's almost like your work grind, right? Where you double dip. You're using something to create moments with your kids. So like I'm doing firewood, which is work. And it would have been a lot faster for me to just chuck the wood in without her being in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
But she wanted to help. So I'm like, okay, I put her up there, and like I would throw over here, and then I would set logs here, and she would actually carry
They were like as big as
a piece of firewood at a time.
A whole tree.
You know, and I had to make sure I didn't hit her with the other logs because then I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
But that's going back to like the intentionality. Like that's being intentional. And I'm learning that now as a parent to young children. Like, yes, it's going to take you probably 3.5 times longer to accomplish this task, but they're developing like this independence and desire to help and be included. And so you just have to like bring it to their level.
And the bonding that you're doing is, you know, it's
Creating core memories.
Yeah, and it's that thing like, you know, a shared struggle among adults, wires and fires and wires. Like when you're out with your team and you guys are co-laboring, imagine this is you and your kid and you're co-laboring.
Yeah, a way more intense level. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Yeah,
So.
yeah.
All right, so
you get if you have
so
some.
you know, Brick and I. Well, first of all, you know what? I'll take a little aside here and just talk real quick about Arbor Expo. Because so Brick and I were developing, I would say, a good relationship with Sachin.
A great relationship.
And Diane and the whole entire staff. You know, we spoke a year ago, and then they invited us back, and we came back, and we had a booth both years. So we had a great time there. We're thankful to them. I just want to say on here, like they've been supporters of ours, and ultimately they want to partner with us a little bit. So I'm excited for that. That'll be great. But what's cool in those moments of like having that booth is this interaction that we get with the community. And what's cool is that that interaction is what this is.
Yeah, totally.
So you and I decided that we wanted to take those conversations that we have at the shows, at the comps, in the hallways, you know, finding a friend when you're at the show or whatever and grabbing coffee or dinner like we did.
Correct.
You know, you and Desmond and I went out and had a meal and just you broke bread and hung out and just rich conversations. Mm-hmm. So the community is what this platform is about. Mm-hmm. And it's about all of y'all that listen, being able to be in your truck. Maybe you're alone or you have a small team and kind of be involved. Maybe you're struggling with family stuff, this dynamic. So, you know, these conversations are vital, and that's the essence of what we do. So when I say to you, community and the tree community, I just like to hear you wax philosophical for a few minutes about what, when I say community, and you can name names, things, like what do you see? What have you seen, and what does it mean when I say community based on like the tree community? Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because a friend of mine and I just had a conversation last night about community and fellowship and how they're not the same thing. You've got the community itself that you're around at for a regular period of time, and then you've got that fellowship where you're just like with your brothers or your sisters or just like your family within that community, and you're breaking bread, like you said. Some things that I've seen and witnessed, it's truly a family. It's like a small, but also not small at the same time, community of people where everybody just cares about each other, and they're always checking in on each other. Even somebody who has been in and out of that community such a small period of time, like I went to one of the expos. I've gone to a lot of the competitions. I competed one time, kind of, and
you did.
Maybe again someday, who knows? And just like the care and like the support and like everybody's cheering you on. And we actually had somebody come up to us at the end of the day that I did compete and interview us for something. And I remember expressing just feeling like I was part of a family, and like, Paul is my father, he's my dad, and he taught me a lot of what I know. But I also have what I call tree dads. Rick Yost, tree dad. He says, no, Paul's your dad, I'm your tree granddad. I'm like, no, you're one of my tree dads. Like, you care, like, you've been a part of my life since I was a kid. Like, I remember jumping on his trampoline in his backyard with Cody. Like,
wow.
I feel like it was like raining or something. We had like chicken wings. I don't remember.
Wow.
But that,
okay.
like, you know,
Man,
just
I
like
forgot that.
being
That's
around,
crazy.
and like
Wow.
the Chisholms having their Oktoberfest every year. I remember going and like running around in the dark with Autumn and Holly. Just like, and like when you're a tree kid, you're like running around like barefoot and stuff, like, you know, just playing with the other kids. But it's definitely something that you can't really put into words. I feel like you just kind of have to like be and feel that environment, like be in the environment and feel just like the love and support.
So you had, and I'm going to make you dig in a little deeper. So you had a specific interaction or two when you competed, because I kind of remember this part of it. And I think Brick's going to like this. See if you can remember the Ascent event, which was a little newer at the time.
That was the speed climb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
You
and
talking about Ascent or?
I think it was
wait.
Ascent. I think it was Ascent. You were like, I'm not going to do this.
It wasn't foot locking. Like you climb the tree, climb the rope. So Ascent. Remember, it used to be foot locking.
Well, so I didn't want to do the aerial rescue.
Okay.
And I didn't want to, I don't think, maybe do the footlock thing.
So who was it? Somebody grabbed you.
Oh, gosh. I feel like it was, who did you have come in and do the tulip poplar that you videoed? Jake.
Oh.
So
he was like, nah. I'm like, please, no, don't make me do it. I'm like this big. I've like practiced for 2 minutes.
Right.
And he made me go up there, and I was like,
Riggs, yeah? Jake Riggs?
Yeah. Jake
So
Riggs.
he and Breck are like,
Thanks, Jake.
they're like super tight. But yeah,
he's definitely my home.
I remember
I think
that.
it was like him. Was his dad there too? It might have
Glenn
been him
was
and his
probably
dad.
there.
They were
Yeah,
like, "No, you're doing it," and I'm like, "But I already decided I wasn't going to." Literally.
Yeah.
That was.
But so pushed you, but also supported, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you felt like, oh God, but like also.
But life begins outside of your comfort.
That's right.
There you go.
Gotta push yourself, or else you're not going to grow.
Yeah. So.
And which kind of ties into the whole point of the community. Because you wouldn't have done it if Jake Riggs didn't beat Jake Riggs to me the same way. But
exactly.
like, you know what I mean? Like he pushed you outside the comfort zone just enough where you're not going to get hurt or anything, but he supported you in the process.
They
And,
went over my knots with me and everything. Made sure.
Yeah.
I feel like, was Thigpen there too?
I would say probably.
Because I also remember going to the aerial rescue and being like, I really don't want to do this. I was like crawling out of my skin because you have to like put on a show.
And the dummy like weighs
and
so
probably
much
twice
more,
as much as I do, right? And so I remember after the event, right? I was so focused on like, because I was going to foot lock up there. I remember putting my prusik on and just like whipping it around and I was like, okay, I got the hardest part out of the way. Now I have to do the second hardest part, which is harder than the first, and actually get up the tree. I didn't, but I remember after I came out and Thigpen, I think, was talking to you or somebody, and he was like, man, when I saw that prusik go on, I was like, oh, it's on. And I was like, so not on, but it's okay because it boosted my confidence anyway. But that's like the community.
At least you got one hard part done.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and the way I look at it is,
thing.
Had you decided to, and again, like life, career, you're an art teacher, you're gifted at that. I mean, that is something you've done since you were little. And I think, you're serving the young people in your life, right? Like, so this is the perfect thing for you. Mm-hmm. But I feel like knowing what my first comp was like, and I know Brick can reflect, he's completely different person than, like, getting that first one out of the way. It's almost like not studying for the test and taking the test so you know what's on it. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, and I'm going through this with your brother, because after last year he served and he's like, I want to compete. And I'm like, well, before you know it, it's going to be here. Well, we're in May. Mm-hmm. He hasn't practiced. He hasn't climbed. He's watching his kid climb and he's like, I feel like the kid's better than me already. And I'm laughing and I'm going, well, he's climbing and he's climbing and he's climbing. You're running and using the lift and you're not climbing, right? But like, you should compete anyway. And he's like, oh no. And it's that apprehension about like, hey, and this, all y'all watching, listening, understand, do it. Yeah. Do the events that you can, lean into the community, be super uncomfortable and self-conscious, take your lumps, but I can promise you, as like, so you didn't finish whatever, but like when you were done in the end of the day, how did you feel? Like, I
definitely don't regret doing it.
Yeah, the
if I had to go back and make the decision again, I would do it again.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll do it again in the future, just because, again, it's like taking the test without studying. Like, you have to be in it, and you have to be practicing it. Sure, I also think that there's like this added pressure that I had put on myself, right? Not necessarily a pressure of the community or the people, but it's like second generation, daughter of the guy who's in the work climb running the tree. And then everybody's like his buddy, and they're like fathering me, helping me along, and I'm like, trying to compute all of the things. And it was a very great experience. It helped me with my confidence in all aspects of everything that I do. But it definitely, I felt very small.
Yeah,
very small.
But see, again, this is what I love. So you felt small, but you didn't feel like nothing.
Correct. And I felt like I was,
Well, no, what I'm saying is that there's, unfortunately, there's people, and if it's in the community or elsewhere, there's people that feel like nothing. Yeah. And suicide and depression, and you know what I mean? But you didn't feel like nothing.
Correct.
You felt small because of these really ideas that you had. Really, nobody put it on you. You created it, and it's fun. But the idea is that you felt small, but afterwards, I'm assuming you felt accomplished. Mm-hmm. Not the event, but the idea of like, I did something that was really scary, really hard, and more or less came out unscathed. Right. I know there's tons of people that love me, want to be my tree dads and whatever. I genuinely believe that the micro level of what happens in that moment on a neurological level, biological level, all that stuff, it's literally what you carry that with you now.
Yes, and you unpack it, not every day, but like you just take aspects of it all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm going to just even deeper and say that it's already ingrained in you.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't know.
You're pulling from it.
Say it again?
You're pulling from it.
Yeah, but again, deeper.
Yeah.
You don't even know. That's what I mean. Like, you'll be doing things with confidence or, with almost in a second nature way because of it, is what I'm saying. Yeah. And that's like, for me, that is the whole point of whether it's tree industry, tree comps, going to college when maybe you're not a social person, new job, you get to hire a new job, or having to leave a job that's not good for you.
Right.
Like all these little things are the micro level of things that feel too big to handle. Yeah. But the only way you get good at it is not practicing. It's actually, and I'm cursed for being in the shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, is that,
Language.
But it's like I say that with the shock value because the only thing that's real is when you're in it.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
that's it.
And you can't lend or loan that experience to anybody else.
Correct.
It is
Yeah.
yours.
Yeah,
Gotta be
absolutely,
lived.
absolutely. And so I just again I hear that
that's-
and like which is one of the questions because I was there not with you
I remember,
alongside.
yeah.
I was competing as well. To the point that I'm gonna ask you. Do you remember who? There was a female climber there.
Nicole Carney.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure because
Oh, no, she was on my team. I had her and Bert
there you
and
go.
one of the Vanderbecks.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
both of them.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
both of them.
Yeah,
No, I
maybe
feel
Tom.
like maybe there was like the brotherly, like
Yeah,
they were.
could be.
Yeah.
I think that was my team.
Yeah.
We
That's
have
cool.
a group
Nice.
pick.
Okay. So
That's awesome.
With that being said, I mean, it's a good segue is being a female,
Mm-hmm.
having a female, a really good female. She's an amazing person, but when it comes to trees, like she's throwing down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Especially now, forget about it. It's a dominator. I was just, in a way, feeling that small, did it help to have feminine energy of strength?
Oh,
with it?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, 100% without a doubt. Especially because, like, obviously we're built different, right? And, like, I don't always like to admit that I can't do everything, but, there are certain ways that you have to be, like, Mark Chisholm is, like, 6 and some feet tall, and he's, like, all limbs. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to climb a tree as fast as him, but I can scurry. So
I like it.
Yeah.
Scary. I
but
like
no,
it.
it was just like she
Adapt.
I mean,
Yeah.
all of the parts of my team, like, were very uplifting, and like we
Yeah,
were like
no,
even like a smaller core little group there, but it just like even watching her, it was really really awesome
that was
and
a cool,
encouraging. I follow her on Instagram still.
Yeah,
We
you
sometimes
did.
go back and forth.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
happy.
That's awesome.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, good. I'm just saying I'm happy to hear that.
I go back and forth with a lot of tree people actually. It's kind of funny. I'm like, I'm still tree climber girl. I gotta like get back in a tree or something. I don't know.
It's recreational. That's what I said. You don't.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a job.
You're right.
Yeah. But no. I'm glad that you brought that up because that feeling small part. I've literally felt the same size as you on my first comp. 100%. I didn't sleep all night the night before because I never did area rescue before. I never did throw line even at this point.
Yep.
So I'm like this far from vomiting before because I don't know anybody. So at least you have people. That,
Right.
I'm just walking there like, all right. So is this my value? Is what am I worth? Are people gonna like what's happening here?
Right.
But just, I mean, unfortunate.
That's an interesting. So I have a question for you now.
Okay.
Were you? So you walked in new,
Like
brand new, and
off the street.
so was that experience? Were you supported at all? Were there people that came alongside you, like in your rotation, or talk to me?
Yeah, no, talk to me. Yeah, no. So to put it the best way, here's the problem that I have is because of my hearing loss. Even if they were helpful, I wouldn't recognize the level of help it was. But I definitely was supported as far as guidance to. You're gonna go over here. I never did throw line, and I feel terrible that I don't remember her name. But if I saw her, she was the one that was like, "Yeah, just grab here." There's a guy named Jason that's really good at it, and so there was guidance along the way. But as far as like, I'm not the person that you want to bring to court to have to remember to have you tell you the words that were said at an event, because no words are said. Like I miss
Right.
them all.
Yeah.
Even if you're talking like now. It just doesn't register that
Sure.
way. It's more of the emotion and experience.
Emotional
and I can,
energy and-
I can break that down, no problem.
Sure.
But it being like, oh, what did Michaela say? I'm like, she
me.
just showed me how to do a throw line. But I knew that it came from love. I knew it came from support.
Yes.
So 100%, there was that from every aspect. Even Laura Chisholm, because at that time, that's my first competition, but I just took the ISA tree climbing specialist exam.
Oh, cool.
I passed the written part, and the other half is you can either do a competition or the infield field portion.
Yep.
So she was like, yeah, no problem. You're going to go over here, all 5 events, and I'll sign off. So there was always that love and support from the community.
Yeah, nobody wants to see anyone fail.
No,
It's like a healthy, like familial competition where you're like grinding against each other to like iron sharpening iron, like you're trying to like grow each other, but you're not you like it's healthy competition and you want to like make each other better. It's not like, oh, I want to see that guy sink. Because I want to be higher on the pedestal. It's not like that.
Wow,
Correct.
that's a really good way to put it.
Beautiful. I mean, it's the truth. You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's and to the point. I don't know if you heard it in your time, but almost it's abnormal, and just in the world in general, to be involved in something in competition and then have that kind of vibration happening.
Yeah.
Like people are like, that's weird. What do you mean? I'm like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's funny because Raina, my wife, her mom, I remember this is going back when they were still doing, I think, the family picnic, you know, and she's like, you know, you guys are, and said it with like quizzically and intrigue and curiosity and a level of not understanding. You guys are weird. She's like, you know, I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
And she's like, we don't go gather as a group of nurses and talk about things and do things like this. Like, this is just foreign.
Yeah.
You know, and I agree. You know,
I still do. I mean,
you know.
it's just,
and I mean, look, there's all walks everywhere, right? There are still creeps in there, and
correct.
people that are selfish, self-centered.
Negative.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. But I think all in all, by and large, and what I find is the people that keep showing up, and you recognize faces and you see them over and over, and they keep showing up to Garden State Tree or Expo, or there tends to be that thread, that common sort of connection. And quite frankly, I think looking for connection.
Yeah, no, so it's interesting. It's that, you have to show up in order to be connected.
Yeah.
Which is, before you were talking, you have a memory of winter management. The idea that you have to, like, I'm pretty sure that some people listening to this don't want to go to expos, don't like the idea of a lot of people, don't, you know, so which is kind of happy. I'm happy we have a podcast for them to listen to feel that feeling.
Sure.
Yes.
But stepping outside the comfort zone, the idea is do that because what is within the community is something.
All you have to do is make one friend. You
That's
don't even
right,
have to make
yeah.
a friend. You could just be like, I kind of don't want to be here, but like help, you know?
Yeah,
I feel like it's almost harder. It's both easy and hard to like isolate yourself, right? I feel like if you're in the right group and you have the right people like at your side and you're being honest with them, it's easy to be in that friendship community circle and feel built up. I feel like it's almost harder to kind of isolate yourself where you're like continuously like backing away.
Yeah.
But you also have to, you know, be willing to take that first step.
Yeah. Outside the comfort zone.
Right?
Yeah, and the first step is the hardest one, right?
It's so hard.
And I came up with this. I don't know if I invented it, but I call it inertial friction, right? So meaning that it's the same force, right? That same sort of electromagnetic elastic that keeps you in the house when it's time to go work out.
Yeah.
And so you have to overcome that inertial friction, and then boing, like once you break that thread, now you're moving.
You're right.
And it's easier to pivot when we're in motion than it is to move from a standstill.
Nice. That was good. I like that.
That was deep.
That was.
You know?
That was
True
good.
guys got deep roots.
Well, you know, you know what I think of it like is because you're old enough to remember. So you're cutting up logs and you're rolling a log.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to keep the log moving and pivot. Like if you're cutting a dish, like a 18 or 20 inch nugget, you're rolling it, but I need it to go that way. When it's moving, it's easier to
grab the corner,
shift it than it is to do it
try
from
to
a
turn it
standstill.
on the spot.
Yeah, and that's life. That's a metaphor for just like, you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. That was good.
No,
yeah.
but this is the way we got to think about it.
I love
things,
it.
You know?
That's
You
the-
got to make these connections. You know?
Dude, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just
So
trying
community, all right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's...
trying to think of.
well, I'll tell you this, too. Like, as a dad, and I know Rick went through this with Katie, because Katie competed and actually went to ITCC in
Oh, that's Rick's daughter?
Yeah, in
okay.
Seattle, I think.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's neat.
You knew her? You guys know?
I know Katie. Yeah, I remember Katie like I remember Cody.
Oh,
They were
okay.
both, I mean, they're quite a few years older than I am, but I remember interacting with them
Yeah,
as
so
a
I haven't
kid.
met Katie. That's why I'm asking. Cody, I know Cody, but forget it.
And like I'm trying to remember because Mason asked me, he's like, "Does Michaela know Brick?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Yeah," but I'm like, when? Like
I know. Yeah.
So even that, I'm trying to remember like when.
I was trying to honestly, I was trying to think of the year, and I thought it was 2018.
Okay.
Because we had orange shirts. Was it orange? Oh, no.
For the
Do you remember which?
competition?
Yeah, the shirt. What jersey color did you have? Oh,
The one that I wore was like a blush, like almost like a reddish pinkish color.
But yeah, so 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I
Wow.
can do the color. Yeah.
The memory on this one. That's great. I don't remember.
Yeah, so 2018, Rutgers, right?
Yeah,
No?
I think maybe.
I don't know. Tell me.
I know that you were in the work climb, like the
Masters.
yes,
Masters.
thank you.
Yes,
and it
that
was a sycamore or a button
Correct.
warrior.
No,
yeah.
correct.
You was
Sycamore,
I was
yes.
like, wow.
That was
Yeah.
a massive tree.
Yeah, next to the house.
Yeah.
The older
Yes.
house. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I'm glad that that's accurate because that tells me I'm
Yeah.
still with it. But no. So 2018, we can get back. But you said you were
No,
about to
it's
go
good. Yeah,
Katie,
dude.
Seattle. No, yeah. Rick Hughes.
Well, you had me triggered another thought, and this is what we're doing. We're gonna just rabbit trail right here, and it's all good. So, as a dad, one of the coolest things was because I was the tech in the tree that day,
Okay.
and I mean to have her come up in the bucket and like me be up there, like there was a definite, and I have a picture.
Oh, yeah, it was my
nice.
pleasure.
That's all.
Yeah, I mean like that's a definitive moment for me.
Yeah.
Like as a dad, being like, here comes my kid, and like watching her ring, and then go out and do a station, and I didn't have like high expectations. First comp.
Yeah, sure.
And I know what that's like. It's nerve wracking. You can barely keep all your friggin' ropes straight.
Or
Like,
breathe.
yeah, you know.
Yeah.
You're up there, you're thinking, oh, I know how to do this.
Yeah, right. Why is my heart beating?
Climber ready. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But
crazy,
and not to not to put you on the spot or embarrass you or whatever, because this is it's an element of pride for me, but like people looking don't realize how like tiny you are, right? So you're 5'3" and like a little over 100 pounds probably, right? And so like that's one thing to scurry around a tree. It's a whole nother thing to be up in a tree and like trying to start an 046 or like it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but like what I saw come out of this little person's body working with her, like. You know what I go back to, and I'll talk about a specific job because it's a question I had for you, and we'll allow that to lead in.
Bring it.
So, do you remember there was a job? It was a multi removal project. I know you're going to remember.
I already
this.
know what you're talking about.
And Rick was there doing grapple work, and you and I was in the bucket, I believe, taking down a pretty good sized tree, and you were running ropes for me. There was a fence, and you had the mini, and I'm telling you, like limbs. Like oak limbs like this. I'm butt tying. And and like the whole thing, like where the swings, second generation. Just feel, floats down, tips come back, touch the ground, let it down. The butt's in the right direction.
Nice.
Come over. I got it. Untie it. Come over with the mini, drag it out. Next. And I was like,
That was such a fun day.
when we
Dude,
started.
So much
sounds
fun.
awesome. Yeah.
So when we started, I was like, hey, like, we'll do what we can. You and I, if we can get this partially done, we got the whole tree done, like me and her. And I'm like, I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'm watching her and I'm like, how is this little person doing this? Like, you know,
No, I
and
can
because also
imagine.
I've watched people work for years.
Yeah.
And you know how in this industry, there's that element of, I don't know if it's cognitive function, understanding leverage. And so what it showed me was if you understand leverage, spatial relationships, like you can have brute strength and not have that and not be nearly as gifted.
Correct. Yeah.
And so to watch, and of course, like I'm bragging right now, but like, and you know, I may or may not have ever shared that with you, but that was one that stood out. And I'm just like, and like, that's a message for somebody listening, maybe they're a female, maybe they're a small-bodied person, and they're thinking, these dudes are big, like they're like moving massive things around. And if you have technique and you understand forces that are at work, I mean, how do you, when you hear me say that, like, how do you, what could you add to that, like, as a person? Because in your little body, you're moving through this world as a small person, right? But you were still able to do these things. I mean, what would you say? Any words of like struggles that you've had with it?
I think
Victories that you've had, like that.
Sure. I think that I love to say, watch me, when people say you're too small for that. I say, watch me, because I just have always been on the smaller side. And, it's fun, whatever, like, I don't care. This is going maybe a little bit off of the tree realm, but I have a very vivid memory of a teacher that I have grown to love, like, to this day. She was our track and field coach. I was in middle school. My mom high jumped and long jumped, and I wanted to high jump and long jump. My mom was average height, and I am a little below average height. And my track coach in middle school said to me, we'll see about long jump, but you're just too short for high jump. Like, that's just not going to happen. So we'll just, we'll do this, and you can be like a short distance sprinter. And I was like, okay. And when I got to high school, I told my coach, I said, I came doing long jump, blah, 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 whatever. And he watched me he put me in a hurdle event. And
I remember this.
Can I just say, the 400 hurdles is the worst event in track and field ever known to man. You have to run a lap around the field while jumping over obstacles that are like, that was how tall they were on me. And I'm like, boing, boing, like Mario. And
it was funny to watch. You know how, like, and I'm going to interrupt now, how they do and they stride?
Yeah.
She would go, and she would, but clear it like.
Over,
And I'm like, she's literally jumping her height, more or less.
So my coach, Coach Custis, love him. He came to me the next day at practice and had me he just put me on the high jump mat, and he has me doing like stuff. And he was, and I'm not like tooting my own horn, but it was like it was an ego boost for me. It was a confidence boost for me, the one that I needed, because I took this from a previous coach who I have grown to love, who said this thing to me, like, there's no way. And then, like, it turned into, I've never seen somebody get that high off of a hurdle before. Like, why are you not high jumping? And I'm like, oh, so-and-so told me I was too short. And he was like, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. So I kind of used that, and that was like a middle school, high school experience. And I used that as like my motivation. I'm like, well, if you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to just tell you to watch me, because I'm going to figure out a way to do it if I'm dedicated enough to do it. So this will go into one more little story that I have that I just think
that's why you're here.
That's the whole point.
One of my favorite memories. Now, to touch on what you just said, that was such a fun day, running ropes, doing that, because I'm working with my dad. And I'm like, this is so much fun, because it's the passion of both of ours. And I do remember one of our workers, Chip, coming over, and he comes over and he's like, do you guys need any help? And I'm like, I got it. It was just like fun. I don't know, because it was just like, there's something about like the two-man machine where you're just like, and you're reading each other, and you're just like flowing. Dude, and if somebody else comes into that and like throws off your flow,
beat it.
Dude, it was so familial, second gen, non-verbal.
No.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm like, boom. She's like, okay, bing, boom. I got it. Like
flow state,
bro.
Flow state, yes, you're right.
Flow state is the most amazing thing in the whole world, and because of all the variables that you just mentioned, especially father-daughter. On top of that,
right? Like, it's like something that you're not going to be able to understand unless like you're in it.
Correct. Love it. I love, just so you know, I like goosebumps just because that's the thing. Like, that's the flow state. But I'm just saying, then you have on top of that the parent-child relationship. I mean, I can't, obviously, I do have it when I do a slate, but it's an accomplishment on his own when he's doing it. Right. But you guys were accomplishing a big job, like together.
You'll get there. He'll get there.
I'm not. But I'm just saying, like, the excitement of hearing that, because I already have that with my coworker, and it's an amazing day.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, but it's just another notch level higher.
When it happens, it'll be second level. You'll be like, boom.
Correct. Yeah.
So you were going to expand on.
Yeah, I'm so silly, but just another situation where, like, I'm small, but like, I'm going to do it when you say that I can't. And I love Rob. I love Rob so much. Constantino. He's come out on our crew a couple times, and like he's, I love him, but he's a little grumpy sometimes.
Yeah.
And I just am that I'm like, you're gonna be grumpy, I'm gonna be sunshine, and I'm gonna like skip around behind you and like, whatever. And just like break that barrier because especially when you're in the work zone.
Yeah.
So he drops like a bunch of trees in the backyard of some property that we're working at, and this is a little bit more recently. And we had Ben and Brett and Steven, like all the younger guys working with us at that time. And I think maybe Madison was even out with us. And I just remember like shucking logs because we were in a tight back space. The mini couldn't get back there. There was like pavers and stuff. And we were just like carrying logs. And Rob was cutting them. And then obviously you get closer to the base of the tree and they get heavier. And he literally stops the saw and he goes, stop. You're not going to be able to lift that one. And I went, and I'm not going to roll out of frame here. I hiked up my pants. I took a nice deep squat and I was like, whoo! And I walked out with it. And I was like, of course, by the time I got to the chipper, I was like, whoo! I think I maxed myself out. That was personal best. And when I came back into the backyard, he just looked at me and he was like, he gave me the nod, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, the nod.
I just felt so important and so special, and that's one of my favorite. Those two memories are probably my favorite.
No,
I love it. I'll tell you another one of mine, and I think it was Brian. We were in Haddonfield, and there was a massive pin oak. I mean, 30-plus inch pin oak with the limbs coming out were, 12, 14, big. Mm-hmm. There was a piece of dead, and you guys backed the bucket in the driveway, and he put the 75-foot lift up. You got two dudes, I believe. Brian, I don't know if Caleb was there.
Was this the one?
You climbed out of the bucket.
Yeah, so that was just me and Brian and Greg.
And Brian goes, better you than me. She pokes, she goes, takes a bucket, pokes her straight 75 foot, pokes a line up, ties in, climbs out, and goes and gets the piece.
Yeah, I was nervous that day. That was, because it had been over pruned too. So there was almost nothing beneath me.
It was
and
lying.
I was very nervous
Yeah,
because Caleb was supposed to be there that day, and for whatever reason he wasn't. It was a Caleb job.
Okay.
And I was kind of nervous because also Brian and I were buds, but I'm also Brian doesn't want to be out in this tree, and I'm starting to feel anxious. So, but it's I had to do it. I got to get it done. So
but, I mean, that was that's one of those memories I stored, and I was like, damn, this little girl, she's my kid, and I know what she's capable of.
Right? Yeah, no.
But even I can fall prey to that whole where's the limit?
I think it's a natural.
The limit is ladders, just in case you were wondering. I can climb 70 feet in a tree, but give me a ladder and I'll be like, that's the limit for me.
No, but no, I know what you mean by the open space underneath.
Yeah,
that is weird because it's still. I mean, I don't say it again. I have no issues with it at all.
Yeah.
But I know the different feeling. Yeah. So when I climb the trees in the Arboretum in the town that I work in, right away I'm like, that's why I love it so much.
You're in a spiral staircase.
It's crazy because I remember my first experience working at Wrigley's climbing and learning in the spring and summer, and then fall came.
Oh, there you go.
And I'm up in trees, and now I'm looking, and I'm not seeing leaves right here. I'm looking, and I'm seeing this church steeple 4 blocks away.
Philly.
And I'm like,
whoa.
Now, Brick doesn't have the fear of heights. I do. So I'm navigating it. And now I haven't been up in a while either. And we got Crane Safety Climber School coming up here in about 2 weeks. And, I'll be an instructor. And it usually takes me, if I'm out of it for a period of time, 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes to just settle back in it because I know what I know about accidents in our industry and that they often happen to guys my age, or that it's not even the age, it's the time in.
Yeah, the time
it's
in.
20 year plus that I make doubly and triply sure that, everything is where it's, and I might even say to a colleague or someone on the job site, hey, does everything look all right? Is there anything I'm missing? And I try to slow my pace because I don't want to set a high expectation of productivity. I try to let myself flow into it. So I start low and slow and get comfortable and
check all the boxes
reacquainted.
off.
And then if I'm rigging, make a small cut, lower it down, feel how the tree feels, and I ramp as I go.
Yeah.
And I feel like that gives me an element of safety. Safety factor built in, that I'm not just going, I've been doing this for 40 years, and
it's
wind up
terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. No, I do want to bring it back. Because the question for you was being a smaller person.
Yes.
You explain how you got the spirit. Because you have that spirit.
Yeah.
You know, you can't tell me I can't do it. I'm going to figure something out.
Right.
Which is amazing. It's awesome. How did you get that to translate? Because now we're talking about that big rigging job. That's like literally I have, and again, it's not a knock on anybody, but I have guys that I work with that just don't understand that.
Yeah.
You know, the physics, the spatial awareness, leverage, you know, that. And that's, I'm curious, do you feel like it's intuitive for you? Or is that something you just kind of like, you know?
That's a hard one because I want to say, yeah, I feel like it's intuitive. I don't know. I have a memory of like one of my first days out on the crew with like Tom and Chris and all them. And I remember somebody had called out, right? It's like always the situation where it's like the show must go on. The job has to get done or else we have to go home and like try again. And like, that's not an option. And I remember I think we were in Woodbury.
Yeah, well
and
done.
that is
Sorry.
something that is intuitively built. Like it's part of like the blood, right?
That was good, yeah.
Like some people I guess some people just like don't have it. It's like a weirdly built type of person, I guess.
Yeah.
So Tom comes to me and he goes, "Hey, do you know anything about roping and rigging?" And I said, "Say what now?" And he was like, "I have to take that dead limb off of this tree and then we can be done." And I was like, "Okay." And he was like, you know, Chris was, I think we had both Chris's working for us at the time. So Bueno was in another tree and Tom was like, whatever. Yeah. And I think other Chris was out that day. Poison ivy or something. And he was like, "Wrap 4 times." He had me set up on the porter wrap. He's like, you know, whatever. He had me try it. He had me, like, he demonstrated it, had me do it. And then he goes, "I'm going to go up in the tree. I'm going to tie that log. And you just have to hold the rope and keep it from going anywhere." And I'm like, oh no, like, okay, like, please don't drop the log. And it's this huge, big, like, probably piece of dead oak or something. And he goes up and he ties it and it just, like, stays right where it's at. I'm like, that was it? That was easy. And so then he comes down and he helps me like lower it because again, first experience. It was like again like a one-on-one, like 2 people are working and like he's in his flow state and I'm
Tom
like
was great,
learning.
man.
Yeah. He really was, and I always called him my work dad, like because he taught me a lot out on the crew. You have to learn a certain amount on the crew, like you can't like prep.
No,
right?
You can't read a book and then
exactly. So I feel like that being my first experience, being like, okay, like we rope when things are going to be needing to be more technical of a removal, and then I think from there, like I actually developed like a real love for roping. I mean, there's always like this like nervous part of it because if you mess up, something's getting broken.
I said still,
oh yeah,
like if he goes up and I'm gonna run ropes for him. Yeah, and it matters what I do matters to him. Yeah, like it's one thing to hold it off,
right,
or to just like let it fold in. Right. It's a whole nother thing. Like obstacle. Let it run. Don't shock load the tree. Miss the fence.
Well, you know what? And I'm glad that you said that because it brought up another memory. Okay, yeah. Remember that property in Swedesboro? The lady had like a jungle backyard. It was like near where the Carltons live, the V-name street. I don't know the street. But like she was an older woman. She had a jungle backyard. The township was being called, and Mark Huff was out there.
I'm sorry, but you say jungle backyard?
It was like a jungle.
But like trees.
No, it was just like trees, and then I don't even know how to. It was you couldn't see the backyard. I just want to make sure
that's what you meant. I didn't know if you meant like just. We
went off to the
rainforest
for
40 years. Yeah, I don't know.
So we had to do a lot of clearing, and Mark went up in the tree, and this was a lot of obstacles situation. There were arbs on the other side of the fence that we didn't want to touch. There was the fence, and then there was like, the guys were working and all this stuff. And I remember him saying like, he was very good at communicating what he needed as the climber. Yeah. So he was like, okay, I'm going to tie this off. You're going to hold it until it passes the trees, and then you're going to let it run, and then you're going to hold it until the guys come and let it down. He was very just instructional. Yeah. And I think maybe that job in particular helped me with legit running ropes because I was able to be like, oh, this is what the branch is going to do. And like, he's going to tie it here and it's going to go like this and it's going to go. So I feel like that experience as well really helped in like that.
Yeah, the dynamics.
And then you begin to be able to duplicate it.
Yes.
Yeah, correct. And which takes, I would say special person, but certain people can do that. And certain people just can't. It's just not a, I'm sure you ran into plenty of people,
more than I can.
It's just like, dude, you don't get it.
Just don't got it.
And I don't think some people.
Correct.
Yeah, some people
Yeah.
You
It's
can't
not-
make them have it.
It's not, there's a gear in the brain.
Yeah.
And the
yeah.
gear's in
Just
there or it's not.
like you got all the information. Like you even just said it, but you got information, and then the other story came up that you had the same information, but you saw how it played out and how
Yes.
your part was in that play.
Right.
And then you're like, well, if I'm in the play and I do this, let me try this little shift and see what happens. And it worked out. And then you're like, I'm in the play.
Yeah.
I can make this work.
I was just going to say, too, this is the teacher nerd in me.
Okay.
But there's an aspect of, like, different types of learning, right? And so we're taught to teach children based off of, like, the different learning abilities. And I think that there are a lot of, like, kinesthetic learners in the
100%.
tree, like, and a lot of, like, blue collar, like, you learn as you do. If you're
Yes.
going to if we're learning a board game for the first time, you're going to read the instructions to me. I am 100% ADHDing out of that conversation until I'm, like, playing. And it's not on purpose. It's just, like, and I think that we have a little bit of an advantage in that sense of, like, being the kinesthetic learners, like you're learning while you're doing and you're applying it. And a lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why it's such a small scope of people that are able to, like, just kind of flow like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've had some smart people that I've given jobs to try out and just watch them try to do like simple leveraging tasks.
Yeah.
And you're like, like the simple one of like I have a log maybe 12-inch diameter and it's 5 feet long and I'm gonna break it over my leg so that more of the mass falls behind my leg and it's gonna create momentum. And when it does, I go under it and stand up and I use that falling momentum and that inertia to help me lift the piece. And then you got people that just want to bear hug it off the ground. And it's like, and then you look at someone who can do it and you think, how is that person so strong to make that thing? It's like, I didn't grunt that off the ground. I used the forces of nature
Right.
to
levitate
physics.
it, basically, like,
exactly. No, definitely. So
and you spot it.
I mean, almost instantly every time. It's I do believe that some people can, slowly, painfully learn how to do it.
Sure.
But from what I'm seeing, it's definitely a stark contrast between, some people just have it and they don't. Which clearly you have it, which is awesome. But with that being said, because of that, that's a conversation coming up. I mean, you don't even have to say anything. It's really a gentle reminder to people either coming into the industry or in the industry. Maybe lean towards kinetic learning or something, or lean towards the position that works best for you, and to stay out of danger and stuff. Because you know what I mean. If you can recognize that you either do or don't have it, that can help you in a direction. Let's say you're just drag and brush, but you are a kinetic learner. But you have either small man or woman, both. And you're like, I want to do that, but you should speak up and say something, regardless of the people who say you can't do it.
Right.
Agreed.
All about overcoming.
So maybe just recognize if you have it or not.
Yeah.
So,
I've also found as a leader of people over the years, you can get very good. Like I knew, and this is just the limiting factors of physical stature, and it's okay. Sometimes we want to say anybody can do anything.
Right.
It was going to be very hard for you, and I think in terms of just like percentage of body weight, to take a big saw up in a tree with a big bar, start the saw while you're hanging in a saddle, and make it cut. Like, well, even with a compression release, like that's going to be hard. Of course, now we have larger battery-powered saws, which would really work to your advantage. Yeah. But I think as leaders, we have to understand it's okay for everybody not to have to do everything. Does it give you flexibility? Yeah, and I think I hit on this with in one of the prior podcasts, just saying like even among men and a male crew, there are people that are better at certain tasks. Like Mason's great at the machines, someone else is better at pruning. So when you divvy up the work, you should be able to do.
Right, divide and conquer.
But also there may be like as a leader, I want to put everybody on a football team, like there are specialties. It's okay. We don't have to put the pressure on ourselves, I don't think, I have to be great at everything. We should work outside of our comfort zone and learn to acquire and assimilate new tasks, but I think ultimately we are going to have a propensity to lean into certain things. Yeah. Does that resonate with you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah. No, I think it's a good. When you said leader ownership, so it's that, but self leadership is also the same thing.
Big time.
It's
big time.
Recognizing your strengths and weaknesses. Be outside your comfort zone seems to be the common theme, but because you have to do that to know exactly where your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
In the first place. But then with that being said, you can find the direction or position that works best for you.
Yep.
So that's kind of, but yeah, no, you're spot on.
Cool. I want to kind of pivot and delve into something. So just for the listeners to kind of, so I'm trying to think, you were, now obviously growing up in it, and even to the point where and I remember this, and you probably do too. I remember when I had like nursery plants and I showed you how to prune, and then unbeknownst to me, she went out. It was like your first summer, I think. You went out with Rick Esposito, and she also was artsy already, so understood form and balance. But I remember saying, he said, "Oh, your daughter pruned that," and I looked at her. I was like, "Well, how did you learn how to?" He's like, "Well, do you remember that time you taught me how to do this?" Yeah, sure. And when I taught you how to do it, you were probably 10, and now fast forward, she's like
my little hand snips.
She's like 16 or 17 or whatever. But what I'm getting at is, I think you worked summer? Did you work freshman summer?
I was trying to do the math this morning, actually. So I think freshman year of college, I started.
Oh, no. I thought you were in high school. No?
Was I in high school?
I swore it was high school.
When did you have, well, it was like Tom
2015. 2015 is the year
I guess I started when Espo.
Yeah, so 2015.
And that was the ice storm when we went to Cancun. Winter management.
That was the Western trip we did to the Sequoia National and everything with Grandma and Eric.
That's right.
So that would have been 2015. So it was probably early 20.
So that was my senior year then.
Okay.
So senior year, I graduated 2014. So it would have been the summer.
Yeah, so I'm saying like 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, whatever. Those summers. But then how long when COVID happened, you were teaching?
I was double tipping.
From home. And
I was poor and I needed a house.
She worked full time
makes sense.
During COVID. How long was that? 6 months or longer?
We closed, I want to say we closed in like March, and then we didn't go back until halfway through the next year. So I worked almost a year full-time on the crew, year-round.
Okay.
And I got to experience my most favorite and least favorite months outside working tree.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm leading somewhere with this. So that I just wanted them to get an understanding experientially of like it was full-time summers and then you had a stretch in there. So when I added it up, it's like however many years of 3 months gives you this many years field and then 1 full year field. Yeah. And I think it comes to 3.5 or 4 years of basically full-time activity. Right. Yeah. Plus growing up next door and we're going to dinner and we're walking through parking islands and I'm like, if someone can tell me what tree that is, I'm taking us out to dinner tonight or something like that,
Madison was always best at that game.
Yeah, but Madison's got good tree ID.
I have to be in the practice. I have to be
okay.
But what I'm saying is, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I remember things sometimes. Were there or weren't there a couple times during summers when you had to kind of step in and lead?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so and at that time, only female, and you're my kid. So there's kind of this double.
Yeah.
So were there any struggles, any kind of like, I'm interested, I was thinking about this as I pregame.
Yeah.
Because I know at one point, and I don't remember which crew it was, there was you came in for the summer to an already existing crew, and that was a bit of a challenge sometimes where the guys had been working, you come in, it's June, and you're like, okay, now Michaela's on the crew. And we had some summers where I was able to send her and her sister out in the little truck with a little chipper, and they would do little climbing jobs, pruning jobs. Like, they were super efficient.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Okay.
That's cool.
But there were times when you were just kind of put into general population.
Yeah.
And I remember one time specifically, you and I talking, we would always post game at home, which was incredible. Rich time for me. And you saying something to the fact of like, I'm trying to let these guys lead and it's not happening. So I'd love to hear a little bit about that, and then what it was like for you to step in, how you were received as like the boss's kid and as a female. Now, in our family by nature, we don't adopt a victim mentality. So I will talk about being a woman, but it's never an excuse. It's never going to be an excuse for her or feel bad for me because I was a woman on a crew. Yeah. And if that's the feeling and experience some women have, that's cool. They have to do and feel what they feel, but we're never going to use it as an excuse. No, it's just not how my family operates. Is that a fair way to put it?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Because I was trying to, because you had kind of like touched on like, I may talk about this. And I was like, yeah. And so I was thinking about it leading in, and I'm like, I just really want to thread that needle very well and not come off like, oh, so. Okay, great.
Cool. Yep.
So I would like to start with, I started out as like the small person on the crew because we had like some men that were, in the career for a long time. Every once in a while we get like this flux, right? Where like the crew kind of like regenerates.
Yeah, it turns over.
And so it was like a couple young people and they were close to my age and they were leading, right? I actually, when Brian first started with us, I like kind of had to take him along and like show him a little bit of this stuff. And I felt weird because Brian was my friend and he was a dude and he was like Matt's friend too. And I definitely felt like I don't want to be overbearing. I don't want to be controlling. I don't want to be bossy. And I don't want to be like the boss's kid. So I had all of those things in my mind kind of 24/7. And the shame of it is I'm putting that all on myself.
Plus you're young at the time too.
Right. Yeah. And I'm trying to like figure this all out. The shame of the matter is that people are going to take away what they take away, no matter how you feel about it and no matter how you're trying to approach it. So working with Brian and Caleb was a sweet time. When I left the crew and then like for the school year and then there was a time where like they both left and then we had another. So like we kind of just had like this flow of like younger people coming in, which is nice. So when I'm coming in kind of like blind, it's hard because like I want to teach and help, but I don't want to teach and help too much. And I want to like delegate, but I don't want to delegate too much. Or else it's going to be like, oh, I hate working with her and whatever. She's so bossy. And I'm the oldest child. I'm the oldest daughter. There's a stigma that comes with that. I'm bossy. I'm a bossy person. I'm a teacher. I teach things. I can't help it. So like I tried to be very careful with my like, hey, so-and-so, do you want to go do this? Or, hey, can I show you how to do this so that then you can just kind of do it? And it's kind of sad in the aftermath to hear like through the web that sometimes like you were truly seen as like, oh, she's so controlling and bossy and da-da-da-da-da. But I've finally been able to like allow myself to let go of like, who cares? Who cares? You can't care because then you're going to carry that weight around with you everywhere you go. And you're going to be like, you're going to withhold yourself from a lot of experiences, not just like working and being a leadership role of a crew. You just can't be afraid to be that person. And if that person has a problem with you being the boss because they don't know what they're doing, sorry.
Yeah.
Like I would 100% have an easier time like if I were to go back this summer.
Well, yeah.
But maybe not with Mason because we're like, the same person in two different bodies. So there may be like some deep therapy that needs to happen there. But
Okay.
Does that kind of like answer your question without going too like?
Yeah, and I don't need you to name names, but and I don't know if there was any specific incidents where you remember someone like either challenging you, but and how you navigate like.
Obviously, hindsight's always 20/20, right?
For sure.
I mean, I had done like a couple ride-alongs to like learn sales, and you're nervous. It's my dad's company. Sometimes it can be feast or famine, depending on how hard the winter was, and you're like trying to get work, but you don't want to be like, you want to be strategic with your pricing, and so I did like quite a few ride-alongs to the point where he was like, "How much would you bid this?" And I'd be like, "Oh, that," and he'd be like, "Right on." So I was pretty confident in my pricing. And I think this was the summer that I struggled the most because I was out pricing like 2 days a week and then I was on the crew a couple days a week. Oh, wow. And this time it was guys that were younger than me. So I kind of felt like the team mom, and I didn't really want to be the team mom, but I kind of had to adopt that role because it was a bunch of, it felt like I was with children. It felt like I was leading a group of children. Like I can't, I feel bad saying it, but there it is.
No, just
so you know, it's an accurate statement to
Right.
make, just so we're clear.
And
it is.
it's also like, that's another tangent for another time. But
Yes.
I remember pricing this willow removal.
I remember this.
And I'm like, I was unsure of myself when I priced it,
Yep.
but I was like, literally, it's a flop and drop. We drag it to the chipper, maybe with the winch, maybe with the mini. I don't know, like a couple lops here and there. Like it was a small enough, like, whatever. I probably could have put a bigger number on it. But the fact of the matter is I went in a little bit apprehensive, and then I had to lead the crew on the job as an add-on at the end of the day. And I see this guy shaking his head, and I see that guy shaking his head and talking to this guy, and like, she only put 800 on this. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, it was a shot to the confidence. It made me feel really sad. And, I wish that I was where I am now to like where I could have like maybe confronted, been like, but then, I don't know, a week or two later, the one kid that was like, I can't believe she only put 800 on this, then bid like an extra part of the job for way under of like another job that we were on. We were on another job. I'm like, I went home. I was like, Dad, I'm like, you will not believe this. So-and-so was shaking his head at me over the willow price and then goes and bids this on the pin oak limb removal. And I can't believe it. And he thinks that, and that's like, just like the general gossip that happens like when you're with a crew and like, you're not maybe jiving with the people. I'd say that's probably one of the bigger ones that stuck out to me.
Just by the way, that sort of tension between sales and production happens in every
They don't get it.
single, but I mean like, and it's easy for me because I'm in control.
Sure.
And if anybody, my guys don't really know necessarily what I bid per se. Mason does,
I'm
but
supposed to know what I put on there either,
but
but somehow
but the issue is also that's you probably didn't know this at the time, but that's very common.
Yeah.
So like the bid guy puts 1,000 on it.
Right.
And the job goes way over, and the first thing the sales guy wants to know is what the hell happened.
Right.
And then the production guy's like, well, it should have been 2,000 and you suck and like you didn't see this and we couldn't get in the yard and didn't you see the sewer cap and if we run that over. And so the approach I try to take is like if Mason's like, hey, am I taking longer than you thought? And I'll say, well, I bid this and so you're right up against where I need to be, like whatever. Or if it goes over, I'm like, and I remember this happening with Cap one time, Ryan Capper. I was like, hey, that job seemed like it took a little bit longer than I had anticipated. Walk me through what happened. Like, is there anything I don't know? And he was like, well, we were in the back and this and that, and it was muddy. And he's like, and the track came off the mini twice.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, by the time we had the job, and I'm like, okay.
Right.
And he's like, dude, it was like 30 minutes each time the track came off, and I didn't tighten it properly. I'm like, cool. So now we just reconciled what happened. I'm good.
Right.
I know my bid didn't suck, and I know you don't suck.
Right.
Yeah.
So those conversations sometimes need to be had.
Oh, of course.
And this is for people. And
Right.
But the last thing, it's so common, but in the private sector. But the last thing we really want is to have that rivalry. We're working together. We really are on the same team. And if the crew is succeeding, the sales rep is succeeding. And if the sales rep is succeeding, the crew is succeeding.
Yeah.
So we need to learn as companies to figure out how to have dialogue as grown-ups.
Of course.
And be assertive and ask good questions. As a manager or somebody wanting to get to the bottom of why something took so long.
Right.
A lot of it's in how you ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, even what you said, the person being like, she only bid this for
Right. They didn't even come to me.
Well, yeah, number one,
Right.
correct, good job. But I'm also saying like that shouldn't be the way it's presented.
Of course.
It should be like, oh man, hopefully, either we can get this done so that's worth the bid,
Right.
or I'll bring it, to Michaela and
Sure.
say, hey, listen, real quick, this wasn't, we had, you said the track came off or the sewer pipes in the way, like. This way, basically it's information. The more information it's brought to light, then everybody can be on the same page.
Yeah.
But if you're trying, like that person trying not to give information, is sabotaging the next job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
And by the way, my recollection is the job didn't go over.
What do you mean?
Like,
oh, no,
the one you
it was,
took.
it
The
was
job
exactly,
was fine.
now,
It was, yeah.
you know, it probably would have been a higher bid now. I
Well, of
remember
course.
grappling with it because I was like, it's so close to the driveway, it's close to the road. I'm like, we could back the thing into the driveway, da-da-da-da-da, boom, bam, done. It was dead,
Right.
you know? And it's like a little rake up on the side yard.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And it
I've
wasn't,
looked
it was
at-
really just kind of like, you know,
Well,
No,
so
but
experientially she had it because
Right.
she had worked on the crew for so long.
Exactly.
And taking this kid out to do sales is like the Pied Piper. Like, I still have people, is Michaela still working? Like, you know,
That's awesome.
I'll have to give a day or so.
you know.
with
So I
this.
mean,
Yeah,
so it's a
exactly.
thing. It's and so like the guys. The other thing is, it's very easy to criticize a chair you've never sat in.
Right.
Understood. Yeah, understood. Yeah.
You know, I think I have it all down. Now you're in front of someone.
Yeah.
You're trying to design a job,
Correct. Yeah.
trying to logistically do the job in your head.
Right.
That
Yeah.
logistically takes place in 3 dimensions, and you're doing it
Yeah. You know,
in
it's-
your head.
Yeah, in your
and
head.
trying to assign a value to it.
And with too many variables involved. You know what I mean? So it's definitely a part of the job that is frustrating because it's not real. It's literally an imagination.
Yeah.
Where you're putting a number on it, and then you hope you can match it. You know, so it's stressful. But I just want to add again, this is my thinking process. I saw this might have been like a couple months ago, Instagram or something, but you because when you were telling me the story is what triggered it. Realistically, it does not matter what you being yourself, what you do, because every person has a version of who you are in their mind.
Yep.
That you don't know. You could like so what you're saying like I don't want to be too bossy or
Right.
you know realistically 4 people have each one of them. There's 4 different versions of Michaela at that moment. So no matter which one you pick, you're probably not going to pick one of those 4, or it's one of those 4.
Yeah.
So it literally doesn't matter. And I remember seeing that and be like, it was just a profound way to look at it. And of course, we're humans. We have emotions, we
Right.
have ideas, and we want to be the better version of ourselves. But realistically, I found that to be a true statement, that people already have who you are in their mind.
Right. And you can't change that, like, essentially.
I mean,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
so.
it's their job to, you
To
know,
work on that.
Yeah.
Is that if a good person will let you, like I do my best to let Paul be Paul. I mean, I don't need to have a version of Paul in my mind that I want Paul to be.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, but I have to work on that. That's
Right.
not a Paul thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's, but that's what the guys like, and I work in a municipality, so there's a variable of there's no production. We get paid the same. So why should I, X, Y, Z? And it's like, dude, I'm all about being a better version of myself. Money, of course I need money. We all need money, but I'm more interested in that. So what you see me do, that's me. So whatever version you have in your head, just knock it off because I'm giving you the version, like you're with me every day.
Right, take it or leave it, yeah.
Yeah, like, and if you feel like I'm lying to you, call me out, that's fine, but you don't need to have a version of me in your head. Hold me accountable, it's fine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you and I were having a little talk at the office this morning just about when I was like, I use the term I don't care. I don't like saying I don't care because I care about a lot of things. I guess what it is I'm and it's taken me a lifetime to get here. Yeah. This is just not just like I'm going to be my most authentic self.
Correct.
Now I'm going to try my best to be kind, to lead with the heart and be pleasant when I can. There's going to be times when I can't, and right, and I'm dealing with stuff and whatever. Yeah. But I mean, for the most part, I'm just going to have solid boundaries, certain ways that I'll allow myself to be spoken to. There's certain approaches I have with sales and clients and not compromising my morals and my center, my principles. It's just not going to happen. And whatever you concoct in your brain, that's a you thing. I will continue to do what you're saying, which is to strive to be a better version of myself on the daily. And by the way, I need to be working on it daily.
Every day.
There's so many flaws that if I stop working now, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. So, but it's just, man, as each decade has gone by, I've just gotten more and more and more comfortable with just being in my own skin and realizing I can't just I can't worry about the thoughts, feelings, and perceptions of other people. That's a realm that exists outside of my control. I can only operate in the realm I'm in, you know? So.
It's too many plates to carry.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of like spinning into the family thing a little bit. Working with a parent, you know, I think about like the Chisholms, I think about the Yost, I think about Warren Hipley and his parents and dad, you know, mom and dad, and like that's a family. Like there are so many of it. I don't know. Like I guess I don't know if wisdom is the right word or just almost like pluses. I mean, pluses and minuses is one thing, but like if you were gonna say, "Hey, I'm a kid and I'm working with," you know, you're a kid like a Cody. Now he's been doing it longer than us now, right? But someone like that, is there something you could offer? Like, hey, like how to navigate, because we are an intense family, right? And we do hash things out too, though. To me, some of my favorite times ever, I just laugh because like you and your sister coming home, Mason wasn't even really on the crew yet.
He had like just started a little bit here and there when I was like kind of phasing out.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So like, you know, you and your sister coming home like summer, because it was when you both work, you know, kind of like stripping down, standing in the kitchen, eating snacks, drinking, sitting on the floor. I'm making coffee. Mom's there. And we're post game.
Family debrief.
Yeah.
I love
And
it.
so like that is some of the, I mean, just as a dad, some of the richest times of my life still. So
That's awesome. Yeah.
I mean, is there anything you could say? So like maybe there's some folks younger, or like there's a young female coming up working with her family business. Is there any wisdom what thing could you say, one or two things that might offer some insight into working in a family business that might benefit them?
Dear God. Okay. I'm just trying to think of like how to phrase, like, I don't know. Growing up, there was never like the pressure or expectation. Like you watch like a movie or a TV show and it's like, you are taking over the family business, da 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 da. There was never that. So I kind of just had the desire like, well, I'm going to be an art teacher. And, you know, I always have the family business like to back me up. That was my like step into it, I feel like. I don't know, like, are you looking for like words of encouragement?
Here's what I think I'm thinking. I'm thinking more in the day-to-day, like intentions
like
and
you're
frictions.
in the business. Oh, like working with your family.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
okay.
it's day-to-day, we're grinding, it's hot, you know, whatever. You and I have a dust up. Like how do you work through and with, like,
No, I get what you're saying
It's a tough
now.
one. No, it's tough.
It is tough because I feel like you and I operate at a level of intensity that like scares some people.
Yeah.
Especially when we're together. And I experience it with my husband, Matt.
do tell.
Matt grew up. Listen, Matt grew up.
What's up, Matt?
Yeah.
I love you. Matt grew up being yelled at. He was yelled at. And that was how he was communicated to. And the tone at which I speak is kind of like
you start there.
baseline.
Yes, it was resonant. Yeah.
And he's like, stop yelling at me. Why are you yelling? You're so intense. And I'm like, I literally can't help it. I will try my best to like speak softly. And I just can't do it. So a lot of times outside of our family unit, people are thinking like, oh my gosh, they're yelling at each other and this is crazy and whatever. And there's an aspect of it that is, you know, yes, we get into tiffs. But you have to like understand your family. Like you have to understand like your family unit and like how you operate. And I think that that's kind of where we have a little bit of an edge with each other. Even with Madison, like Madison's a little bit more quiet.
Sure.
She's like quietly intense.
More like Mom.
She's really not intense like at the level of like we are just like.
Yeah, but and you hit it, but she is
the quiet one.
She's intense though.
Me?
No, Madison.
Oh, yeah.
Just in a like
Different.
Different
yeah,
path.
like it's like the deep. What is it? Still water runs deep.
Yeah.
Like she runs wicked deep and accomplishes amazing things.
Yeah, okay.
You just don't see the ripples on the surface.
Right.
Got it.
And really
like with us.
Right.
Yeah.
And what it
Yeah.
comes down to is you have to want that like relationship. It's like you have to keep close accounts or quick accounts, you know, hold each other accountable without being like, you know, wait until the dust has settled before you reach into those things again, and like I'm losing the word out of my head, but like you have to be intentional with like how you bring it up, how you speak about an issue. I really don't remember having too many like crazy blowouts like on the crew. I think like we prioritize like the work.
Yeah.
I think like any of the fights that
It's
we ever had
probably
was
just
more.
knowing boundaries too.
Yeah.
And there's one biblical thing that comes into my head. It's like, don't let the sun go down on your anger.
Yes.
And I think, but it's funny because you, Mason, and I can go from 0 to like 107 degrees.
Yeah.
And then walk in the backyard, grab a brush pile, and by the time we get out, it's over.
Yeah.
So it's like,
So if you don't mind me jumping
Yeah.
in, so this kind of multiple.
Yeah.
So number one being, it's really more towards you because you're the parental figure in the situation.
Sure.
So you must have done enough work to be able to receive whatever is happening.
Sure.
And then you must have been around it to know that you can approach it. You know, I'm not sure. I mean, you got to
When
tell
to
me.
poke the bear.
Correct. Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what I mean? Like, because I'm assuming the listeners, myself included, because it is Slate's dream to be in the tree business with me. So there's the possibility of that. So, but then there's a mission that has to get done. You know, production. There's the whole objective.
Yeah.
So like, that's what that's what I'm hearing from you guys. There's a lot of high intensity dynamic that you guys originally have separate. You put that together, you're just gonna have more of it.
Yeah.
So I guess the first question would be like, you must have done the work to be able to receive whatever she's bringing, energy she's bringing, to give her the space to also then come afterwards. You know, not so much to amend things that happen, but you know what I mean. But then you also had to have learned, whether it's through your parents, church, whatever, to be able to be comfortable enough to know that you have space to go into and, hey, let's work on this, accountability or whatever. So just start with that first.
Yeah.
Because you can't, the way you guys are talking about, it's like, it's just what we do. And it's like, there's tons of business owners out there that have their kids working with them and cannot, like, there's none of that happening.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is, and it's kind of weird because I'll back up. My hardest time with her wasn't at work. It was as a parent. Because she's a very strong-willed person.
Independent.
And so like when it started, when she was a teenager, pushing boundaries, asking questions, and being volatile, right?
But like, you're talking about just life in general?
Interpersonal, outside of work, in the home.
Okay, got it.
And so I think by the time we got to work, some of that was already behind us and there was less of it. And I think two things happened. I think one, she carried an element of respect into the workplace.
Good job.
So like even though she had intensity, she carried an element of respect, like stepped into my realm and was like, okay, this is like dad's business.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be my intense self, but when it comes to dealing directly with dad, I'm gonna carry an element of respect.
Right.
And ask
Because he was also my boss.
and ask questions.
I don't want to get fired.
I mean,
Right? And on my part, I've seen too many owners be so friggin' stubborn.
correct.
And want to control every little thing. And I have always wanted my kids to like I'm going to challenge them and I'm going to put them in position to be uncomfortable. I'm going to make them problem solve with their sports team stuff at high school. I'm not going to intervene. And this is my wife and I are in alignment on that. They're going to skin their knee and I'm not going to run over with an alcohol wipe every single time. You know, I'm going to look at them and go, you're okay.
Yeah.
And get up and dust off and like, let's have another go.
Yeah.
So, but I always wanted to give them, and this is a leadership thing, and I'm not trying to shine a great light on myself because I'm very intense and volatile as well, but giving them space. And Mason, I remember coming up and problem solving, or giving me ideas about things when he's 7. And I've seen a lot of dads, man, go, no, that's not what we're doing. And just be very like, you're 8. What do you know? Where in my mind, I'm like, okay, what's your idea? That's actually a good idea. Or you know what? Try that and see how it works.
Yeah.
And as long as I know when they fail, they're not going to hurt themselves.
Sure.
I want them to own their idea and have the space to kind of like hash it out. Because if you're constantly feeding, whether they're your kids or your staff, if you're feeding them answers, they're always coming to you for answers. And the way I put it, I kind of think I developed this, but it's like, if you always want to be the one doing a thing, if you always want to be the one doing a thing, keep doing the thing. Okay. If I want to be the guy who's always climbing the tree and cutting the tree, keep climbing the tree and doing the tree, and leave no space for anybody else to do it. And you know what? You're always going to be that guy. And you know what happens when you're 61 and your body hurts? Maybe today I don't feel like it. And I'm just at a place where I'm okay with it. So what do I have to do? I got to give space to let someone do the thing.
You do the thing.
And you know what? I can give them guardrails. I'm going off on a tangent.
No,
but this is a thing that's very important to me. I had a young guy work for me whose dad was a tree guy. And he's like, my father would never give me this latitude. That's why I can't work with him. And I'm like, pray to God that'll never be me. Now, I'll give Mason suggestions or whatever, but my thing is like, I'm going to show you the safety stuff. Here's the knots. Here's the thing. By the way, here's Brick. Here's Derek. This is how they do it. These are people I trust. If you watch something online from them, or Mark, or Tatey, or Thigpen, this is our community. Riggs, like, if you're watching these people, take anything you want. It doesn't have to be what I showed you. Make this your own. I need to give you the space to do that.
So I'm assuming you did that.
So I think that's part of it.
I would say that's hit the nail on the head perfectly, because there's also a certain people group who they can't problem solve. Like, they're incapable of seeing a problem and dissecting the problem and being able to put it back together. And I think having been given like a little bit of that leeway, like a good amount of that leeway, like especially when I was like running the crew, my dad knew that when I called him, it was probably a larger problem. Because
Fair
I
enough,
tried to really
like you would take care of everything
essentially
until you had to.
Exactly. So he would always just be like, "Oh no, what is it?" And I'm like, "Well, you
Well,
know."
and that's and it's funny because her and Madison say the same thing. It's like, call me with anything. What?
Yeah, right. Because then at that point he knows that we can't solve it ourselves. Yeah.
You know? and then so what? And you know what? Lesson learned. So I see the phone. It's like Mason, and before I answer, I go, "Hey, what's up?" Like, you know.
Yeah.
So some of it, it's
Yes.
It's like I gotta.
I love that.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's kind of nice.
It is. It's really nice.
Yeah. We had a guy, Frank, that worked for us for a while.
The art guy.
Yeah, and I never realized.
He was an artist.
No, but what did you say? What?
I said the art guy.
Oh, the old guy was okay. Yeah.
So it speaks to the intensity thing. I remember just having a conversation with him one time, and he was like shaking.
Oh, wait, just in a conversation?
Yeah.
Alone?
And I was like, "What's up?" He's like, "I don't think you have it." He was like, "I don't think you have any idea how intense you are and how intimidating you are."
I'm sorry, but
like in my mind, I'm going,
What?
I'm like, what? But and then like I've seen video. Like sometimes when I watch this, I realize like I'm very I'm demonstrative.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm
yeah.
and the hands are going, and the voice, and the expression, and to me, it's just this is who I am in this time and space, and I don't mean to be like
We are Sparta.
you know.
There you go.
So, but that was actually like a peel back of the veil, and I think for the first time, I was like, man, this person is feeling a certain kind of way by the energy.
Yeah.
And then you times that by 3 in a family dynamic working outside and.
No, I get it.
So just going, okay, you know.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
I was just saying it's just an interesting thing to do is maintain because it's obviously it's part of you guys. If you are who you are, I mean, hopefully did the work and you're positive. So what that positive looks like shouldn't matter at all. However, other people either haven't done the work or, like you said, your husband grew up being yelled at a lot. So he's conditioned or decided that I just want to try to avoid that. And nothing wrong with his mindset.
Sure.
But my opinion, the right thing to do is work on that so that when that energy comes around again, all you need to do is differentiate between positive and negative.
Right.
Which
is hard.
It's very hard, yeah.
Especially when you don't know the person or you just assume, like,
Correct.
you know.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
and it is like, because even in and this is getting off a tree and into like family dynamic again.
Sure.
So my wife and I each bring a certain amount of relational baggage, you know. And if you go down these rabbit holes and you do shadow work, where you dig into these corners and you realize that, hey, the reason I react that way when I hear this is because when I heard this before in my life, it was negative. And it brought this whole, so I'm carrying and I'm assigning this meaning to that tone, to those words, to that body language, and the other person does the same thing. And what I realize is I'm getting, and you and I had you and myself, Anthony and Desmond had an intimate conversation at Starbucks, leaving where I unpacked a little bit of life. But I've been constantly doing the work. And what I'm saying is, like, once we start to realize there's a paradigm, which is really a lens that we see life through, shaped by all those experiences, once we begin to pull those threads, we can change how we react because those patterns are no longer true. We take the power away. And it's now there's neural pathways that have been developed over 30, 40 years. And we can fall right back into that track. And who better to do it than the person you're most familiar with, a spouse or a child?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who can immediately, with a word, tone, or a look, take you back into and I can bring it into the workplace and say, when you work with someone every day, a lot of times, you can in your head say, if this MFer does this thing one more time, I'm going to lose. So now you're predetermining your reaction based on something that actually hasn't even happened yet.
Exactly.
So are we going to do that? Or as a leader, are we going to take a breath, step into the pause, ask a good question, and try to dissolve it? That's what leadership looks like. And it starts, like you said earlier, with self-leadership.
Absolutely.
And that's, by the way, he and I gave a talk together at Expo, got into some self-leadership. I'm going to throw this out there. I never intended to do this, but this is our podcast. So I'm going to put a plug out, if it's okay with you. Like,
absolutely.
If you're ever looking for somebody to speak at an event, you know, like one of your ISA talks or whatever, and, you know, I'm just putting a plug out because we love doing it. We love talking to the rank and file. You know, Brooke's got some talks he does. You know, I do the same thing. We've done them together. If there's any way we can help or whatever, you know, you can
be a part
shoot us a DM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that fair?
Totally.
Am I allowed to do that?
First of all, you are allowed to do it. Yeah. Number one, and it's funny. I had a conversation, kind of a tangent, but about how my response. Speaking of shadow work, my response being, it's cool, but it feels weird. And the conversation was about lots of pictures of me being around the New Jersey tree conference, and somebody I haven't met. Remember the knife I got? Remember the guy?
Yes.
Yeah. So you know, he said, "Hey, what's going on?" And, like, it felt like I've known him, met him 100 times. So I'm like, my bad. I don't know who you are. You know, and he's like, "No, you don't know who I am." I'm like, "Okay, good. Like, it's awesome." You know. And with conversation, he said, "I see you everywhere, so that's how I know you." I'm like, I know. It just kind of feels weird. He goes, like, I mean, like, eye to eye, just like, that's a childhood response. And I was like, and I feel like I do a pretty good job with my work. So you know, and I'm like, cool. How so? Like, I'm curious because I thought I did it. So what do you mean? He goes, well, do you think that? What he said? Do you think that when you were a child that you felt like you were in the spotlight but didn't want to be in the spotlight? And I'm like, all the time. It's literally my whole life being deaf, being brought out, being this is your deaf. You do this, do that. And then he goes, and then this is him with confidence saying, that's exactly why you said this is weird. He said, you should be proud of everything, the work that you did, and that's why you're on these pictures. And I was like, you know, and then we got into a deep conversation.
Deserving and undeserving.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. So with the plug that we just did, it's the same feeling. It's like, that's weird. With plug
I can
yourselves.
see your body language.
You know, and I'm like, you know what? I'm
space.
taking ownership of it.
Well, and here's the thing, like, dude, well, first of all, I've seen you talk independently,
Yeah.
And I felt the first one we did last year was pretty good, and the content was deep.
Yes. Yeah.
But this year, I don't know. I mean, coming off it and in reflecting, I feel so good about
Same.
what we shared. And I just think that it's really an extension of this. It comes from a heart of, I call it ministry. People are like, is it a Christian-based thing? I'm like, no, but that is my center, and I don't hide from it.
Yeah.
I use ministry on purpose. I use that word on purpose
Yes.
because
It
does reflect my core.
Yeah.
But if there's any way we can speak into the lives of others coming up or whatever, that's what it's about. You know, it's the sharing thing, and like, you know. So, and besides, it's nice to do something else to do, and you know, as I'm getting older, I'd like to do more of it. So I'm not afraid to use the platform to. It should all tie together.
Yeah.
You know.
No, definitely
So.
makes sense. Good job plugging.
Yeah, man.
That was
So,
awesome.
and it's, again, it wasn't, I had thought about it before because, you know, we're working on getting some sponsors and things, and people are going to get behind us and help us, you know, produce this thing because this is all out of pocket. We do it out of love, really, for the community. But we definitely have some partners that are excited to come alongside of us, and we're super excited. So I think next time we'll start putting some little like ads in, but that's going to help support the production and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So why not use the forum to
Deservedly so.
Yeah, let people know
give
where to
yourself
find
more
us.
work.
Yeah,
You're
and kind of
networking.
So
Yeah.
So-
Before you go into, to wrap up the point, because we went on multiple tangents, you and your dad, I'm assuming Madison, and now you and Mason.
Yeah.
Since you said you were on your way out when Mason kind of started coming in, that's my point. I believe that it speaks more to the work that you put in, because obviously you're first generation,
I am.
right? So, and then you obviously grew up with those principles, morals, you know, respect and all that stuff. So for the listeners, this is really, I just want to bring it back to, like, that sounds like that's really the foundation. That's the foundation that has to be there to have that kind of a dynamic in a family business.
Yeah.
Because well, I'm just saying, that's the calling to the people listening. Meaning, like, if you're in a position, you're having a hard time as the parent owner with your children, or the children with parent owner, this is what I'm trying to incumbent upon you to do the extra work, to have a foundation, to be able to travel across that and hold each other accountable.
Yeah.
You know,
And you
that's
both
what
have to want
sounds.
it. You know, you both have to want that dynamic for it to work. You can't just, like, you know.
I think it's very difficult to do it willy-nilly with no intention. You can't, and I can tell you just, I don't, it's odd because it puts me in a position to almost sound like there's some type of self-touting. Make no mistake about it, there are moments and were moments where I won't say I was out of control, but I wasn't in maybe the best control. There were times when I didn't behave the way I wanted to, okay? So I'll start with that caveat. But I will say there was a massive amount of intentionality about one thing she hit on, and it's this way with Mason. The business is there for you if you want it. It's never assumed you're going to come in and work this thing. Look, not everybody wants to do this. How many people have come through my door and I thought, this person's got talent, and they go and they do something else? I'm not shocked by that. This is not an easy task nor an easy life. True. But if you catch the disease, it's infectious.
Yeah, agreed.
And it will permeate your spirit, right?
Agreed.
So it's fun when you see that switch get flicked, which is cool. But there was a massive amount, and still to this day, there is a massive amount of intentionality about how I approach the relationship with my kids working. Now, I'll say it's different with Mason because of his masculine energy. It just is. Like, him and he can give me a look or get cross with me, and I'll just be completely blunt. And he may or may not listen. I kind of want, the old school Gen X part of me wants to smack the shit out of him, if I may be that blunt. And I use that for intensity for purpose.
Understood.
And then what I have to do, like we had a thing the other day, and he gave me a look and a word, and I just looked at him and I took a deep breath, and I thought, if I stand here and I respond, nothing good's going to come out of this. He had his ticket, whatever. I didn't storm off. I just looked at him and I went, okay. And I walked away and I got in the car and I left. And it just, now he's like me where it was 1,000. And I'm like, am I going to match that energy?
Yeah, there you go.
And I walked away, got in my car, left. Him and Dominic worked on the job, this and that. He calls me later. Hey, I have this thing. And I'm just like, and I calmed down. I left 10 minutes later. I didn't feel the way I did standing there.
Sure.
So there has to be an intentionality. Like, am I going to hold this? Am I going to go smack my, like, he's
Right.
21 years old soon. I'm sick. Like, is this what I'm doing? I heard him one time tell a story about like one of his friends and his dad like got in a fist fight in their house.
I'm all about the fight.
Well, I'm just saying.
You know what I mean?
just
But
saying, like,
at the right place. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, like, these
for
are
the
my-
right reasons.
these are my-
Just
When it's worth it.
You know, I'm like,
Yeah,
these are my
correct, yeah.
children. Like,
Yeah.
this
No,
is
I know.
not a thing.
No,
This does not happen. This is an immature, childish response.
Correct. Yeah.
You know, I have to contend as a man with my own emotions.
Yeah.
And so I'm finally at 61 at a place where I can recognize how I feel. Go, oh, that feels like I want to kill somebody. Probably not a good idea to kill somebody. Let me take a deep breath and just excuse myself from the situation. And in 10 minutes, I'm not going to feel like I did 10 minutes ago.
Definitely.
And that's what happened, and we're fine. Nothing came of it at all. Done. Yeah. And then we will sometimes revisit, and he or I might go, hey, like earlier when that happened, I'm like, yeah. He's like, this and that. And I'm like, it's all right.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
cool.
or I might say, hey, like the one that was like, never say that to me again.
Yeah.
Because I know you're not mad now.
No, but
And we're good. But that way that you said that, like, let's have that as a boundary that that's not an okay thing to say to me. And he's looking at me and he's like, all right. So, like,
that's it.
yeah,
That's
don't let the
literally
sun
that's
go
it.
down on your anger. Don't stuff that thing in a bag that you're going to dump out later.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
this makes me think a lot about the Chisholms and grabbing either Mark and Big Steve or both Steves or all three and just
Oh yeah,
That would be
absolutely.
really
and
cool.
really unpack that found because you know over the last 30 years of doing what they're doing, they're a lot deeper, longer into it than we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The wisdom, and you know there's like some intention out, like how do they navigate and build an 80-person company?
Yeah, and it's all I was gonna say. It's not just the men.
No.
Those are the women behind it.
100%.
You know, Connie.
Yeah.
You know, you just mentioned Autumn and Autumn.
Holly.
Yeah. You know what I mean. So it's There's always because life happens too. You know what I mean.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got like you got kids. I got kids. Or, you know what I mean. So it's just a constant.
Yep.
You know.
Absolutely.
The ocean. To be poetic, is there's always different tides, different storms, different conditions, currents, and you just got to navigate that on top of everything else. Yeah. So I love it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna because one of the questions is I think for what I wanted to touch on it was two parts. So I'm gonna go with off subject, but
Okay.
art.
Yes.
This is your opportunity. This is your chance to tell. All right. And this is like I don't know. I would say it's kind of hard, but I consider myself to be an artist too.
Yes.
And this might be an excuse. I don't know. Maybe you tell me, but I feel like you know, I don't know, and I get it wrong. Van Gogh is the one that cut his ear off.
Yeah.
That's me when it comes to art, because I'm more drawn to rhythmic and what's the word I'm looking for? Symmetry.
Okay.
Like artwork. Like just I love how shapes.
So like geometric kind of.
Geometric.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, that's obsessed. But the point is the perfection aspect to it is the insanity part.
Yeah.
And I love diving into colors. My favorite medium is colored pencils, and then a lot of time mashing them together and stuff. But one of my pieces took 88 hours to do. Like it accumulated time. And I have fun doing it. I just don't have the artist life where I can just be in the studio for 12 hours. It's just not gonna happen now. So very similar to what you're saying, what you're kinetic or intuitive to begin with. I feel like an artist is the same. Other people can become an artist. I believe in that as well.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. So so basically, it's more that's who you are. You even just mentioned it before that you knew that's what you want. You were into the art form, and trees were also equally passionate to that as well. So it's almost like an opportunity for you to tell me what you love about that and see where it goes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, not to sound like cheesy or whatever, but I am a big preacher on like everybody has the opportunity at least to be an artist of their craft. I don't think that like I'm an artist and this person's not. I think that you are an artist. I think that you are an artist. You might roll your eyes when you hear me say, oh yeah, you're an artist if you don't identify as an artist. But I truly believe like, I mean, even as somebody who's like a tree pruner, like an arborist, like you're pruning the tree, there's an art to it that people don't get. It's a 3-dimensional, 360 kind of, and I feel like they really do tie together. Does having the background of like going to school to do art help? Sure. With balance and all that stuff, but it also comes with like the kinesthetic aspect of like you're doing it and you're learning it together at the same time. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to broaden on.
Well,
You have more. I know
one
you do.
one of the
You're
things-
You just have to like poke me and something will ooze out.
One of the
Exactly,
things that I saw was, and this is what I tell people with the trees, because they're like, I want it, and they always use their hands,
Shaped.
Yeah.
and they
shape,
want
yeah.
it. They typically want it symmetrical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah,
trees
yeah.
are not symmetrical.
It's an organic
I'm like,
thing.
they're balanced.
Yeah.
You can have balance, but you can. I'm like, look at the tree. It's
Balance and symmetry are not the
yeah,
same.
it does this. Like the trunk's like that, and then the head fixes itself. How am I going to make that symmetrical?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
So I've seen, her, explore the medium of trees as an art form, and it's been it's been pretty cool. I don't know if I have a follow up that can poke her a little bit.
Yeah, poke the bear.
Well, let me ask you this: what is your I think, as your dad, one of my favorite things, and maybe it's because I have a propensity to love it, is the pen and ink stuff, the shadows, what do you call the stippling? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
The dots.
Pointillism, stippling. Yeah. Same
That
thing.
stuff is like insane.
Yeah.
But what's maybe they're the same thing. Like maybe what's your favorite to do, and then what do you feel you're best at, and are they the same?
Oh boy. See, this comes probably right in hand with like my brain being like me, which I think maybe I have inherited from my father. I love to get my hands in everything. I like to experience and explore everything. I do, of course, have my favorites. I feel like I do better in like a 3D. I specialized in ceramics, or I focused on ceramics in high school, and I was sitting at the wheel and like the pottery thing, and I think that's why I do well when I prune. I do really enjoy doing the pen and ink more and more, and I have watched myself grow since doing it. There's an artist, and I forget his name, but he developed this Inktober thing where to challenge himself and to continue in the practice and not just be stuck doing commission after commission after commission. He was giving himself prompts every single day for the month of October. And so he was calling it Inktober, and then it took off and it went viral. And artists all over the world now do Inktober every year. And it's basically to bring yourself back to the simplicity of working in pen and ink and doing the smaller sketches, the simpler art, essentially, which is what that began as.
This is why I was going to say that.
Right. So there is a challenge that comes with working in one color and using the paper as your like positive or negative space.
Okay.
So you have your pen, which is your ink, your marker, whatever it is, your pen.
Yeah.
And you have your paper, and you have to like use that one shade, that one color to create a gradient, essentially. And so when you're doing the pointillism or the hatching, or, I don't want to go into art terms, but when you're doing those different types of techniques on the paper, you are creating image from like nothing. It's kind of crazy, like when you break it down and think about it, but I do really enjoy that. And like, I feel like I do best when I'm doing the pointillism, but it takes so much time because you're literally doing it one dot at a time. So
Which is insanity.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry,
And I've seen
no,
that
it
one.
is.
Yeah,
That's why.
it's wild.
Artists are a little crazy.
Yeah.
Try not to drink the paint water.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Exactly.
This is paint water.
No, it's just yeah. No, but no, that's why. Because I don't know. This is being romantic, but like I actually put like the notes is because as an artist, so just make sure you mention that the logo for the podcast was done by
100%.
her. And I said, is there a way to remind us in the industry of the romantic side of what we do? Art of tree climbing, art of roping, art of cleaning, like cleaning the lawn up.
Yeah.
The idea is that you make it look like that you weren't there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no,
So-
I absolutely get that, and a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
To bring it back to Rob Constantino, when he was out on our crew, like he was the ground guy, and you know, I was learning on the crew. You know, you're learning every day. And one of the things, and I'm not going to say it the same way he did, but he was like, you want to make it look like we weren't here.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people that come back or have come back to us in the past with their reviews or just speaking to us, I remember working on that Willow Oak in Mullica Hill where they were going to remove the insurance from the property because it was too close, the Chuck House or whatever. Do you remember what house I'm talking
Off
about?
the top of my head, no.
So
but
the women who lived there, when we were backing into the
Oh, yeah,
driveway,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
the one lady was like, "We like didn't realize like that you guys had been here the one time that you were
yes,
here."
yeah.
She was like, "We came home, we knew we were on your schedule for the day. We looked up and we were like, oh." And we saw like cuts and stuff,
Yeah.
but then like we looked down and I was like, I think I saw a twig over there. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's an art to cleaning up after yourself when you're done. Not only just like not leaving dog ears and not tearing the branch collar and blah, 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 all the technicalities of like proper tree cutting, but it's also like you're not done when the tree's done. You're done when your tires leave their driveway.
There you go.
And you want to blow off like literally every last speck. You're taking the shovel to the curb and you're shoveling everything into a can, not the chipper, and rolling out. You know what I mean?
That's how
And
you know
that's
she
an
did tree
art.
work.
And people are like, okay, yeah, that's an art.
saying,
No, it's
no.
an art because then you leave and people are like,
Well, and my thing as an owner is, you know, if they're out for the day and they drive home after they're working their shift, maybe
Yeah.
they drove an hour and a half home,
Right.
an hour, like in traffic, and they pull up and they go and they look, and the first thing they see in the curb is like a line of chips and sawdust that
Yeah.
somebody blew against the curb.
and left, yeah.
And they just paid you whatever.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's $250 or $2,500. They shouldn't have to see that. You know, and if you do make a mistake, you own it and you say, "I'll come back and
Right.
fix it."
Yeah, absolutely.
But those cleanups, you know, blow and and scoop and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I just wanted, like I said, touch on that because it's tied together, like you said.
Yep.
Yeah, because, and I agree with you. Everybody's an artist or has the potential to. It just, for lack of a better way of saying it, this might be too harsh, but I feel like the world isn't designed for artists. Meaning, the space for an artist to create is very limited.
Yeah.
Because of bills, blah blah blah, whatever. You know what I mean? So
But then also like the creativity is being beaten out of our children.
absolutely.
I mean, you talk about like AI, you talk about like the computers. I mean, even just being in teaching for, I don't know, like almost 7 years, right? These children are not even given the opportunity, like the activities that you guys got to do in school aren't going to be the same that I got. And even the activities that I got, like they stopped teaching cursive. Like by the time I hit 3rd grade, they stopped teaching cursive. And I could go on wear my tinfoil hat with that, but I'm not going to. But you know, I see the kids today and these teachers are struggling to cram in like fun activities to make things like fun to learn. And I think that's why so many people are kind of switching gears and like going towards like the homeschooling thing, because there's a little bit more of the romanticizing, like the homesteading type of thing. And like, there's an art to that. There's an, you know, and I feel like a lot of families are flourishing as a response because they're not being locked into this like sterile
a box.
environment
Yeah.
where they're like, okay, you have to create this. That's why when the kids come to my art room, I'm like, here's what we're doing. You know, maybe it's a teacher guided drawing today and we're all drawing a koi fish. Okay, you are now going to draw the koi fish following the steps. I'm going to give you guidelines on how to fill the page with that drawing and not make it super duper small. I'm going to walk around if you have any questions, but like this is your interpretation. Art is all about interpretation, and it's your job to get the picture on the page and then apply whatever colors you want with the materials that I give you. So I just feel like that maybe to connect it all together to be like, we are at a point in our world right now where we are at an uphill battle trying to combat like them pressing down on our creativity, and we need to like
push back.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
Absolutely.
in all aspects.
What's weird for me, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, I'm pretty sure I know where you line up. When I write, when I am in the winter and I have space to allow, and even for me, like the entrepreneur, like creating other things like the slab stuff, like I'm not building with the slabs, but like slabbing the wood, and like, you know, I write in my journal and then I post some stuff up on the Paul Beaster Consulting website, and I feel like I am my most authentic self when I'm engaged in my art form. You know,
Absolutely.
and that's true when and it's whether I'm in production on the crew or production of selling 30 jobs a week or looking at 30, 40 jobs a week, the space doesn't exist for me to sit and, you know, let stuff come out. I have this other thing too, like I like how you use the pressing down, because I feel like we're stuffing in. There's always incoming, and the incoming doesn't let things come out. And sometimes we have to push back and sit in that space to allow stuff to come out, whether that be music, writing, drawing, surfing, skiing. We have to.
Yeah.
And that, again, just comes down to intentionality.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah, intentionality. It's funny because the visual that I have is you're pushing back to create the room.
Yeah.
But then now you have to sit in the room and get back to being creative.
Yeah.
So you have to do all this work just to create the safe space, and now you got to sit down and like decompress from doing that in order for the you know, and that's it's frustrating.
Yeah,
you know,
it's an active battle, especially now too with like all of the reels and the
Oh,
TikTok and everything. They're destroying our attention span. I was already like, but like you have to actively sit down and like remove yourself from that input, because it's just like 7-second videos. That's what's trending. That's what the algorithm's going to push, and that's what you're going to absorb. And then if you get a video that's 3 minutes long, it's not going to push to people, and you're like, oh my gosh, and you're drowning in it, and it's destroying our attention spans, and it's hurtful to our artistic nature.
I agree.
What grade? What age of kids are you teaching?
I teach K through 4.
Okay.
So I see
it's
like
5 to
4 or
9.
5 to like 8, 9.
Yeah. Okay.
Depending on
Yeah.
where the
That's cool. No, it's
Yeah, man.
No, I love it. Like I said, just art. It's just, I mean, this is for the listeners. The ones that know, but if you go back to the earlier episodes, it was the turtle.
Mm-hmm.
Turtle's still there. It's
Yeah.
still part of my thing, you know what Bushido is.
Yeah.
Bushido is pretty much the art of living the martial art life. Like it's not how you train for the martial art, but it's how you eat, how you sleep, so it's discipline in everything that you do. And so I switched it. I just put all Bushido, and it's the same mindset, because doing tree work, tree climbing specifically, it has always been an art for me. So how I eat, how I move, how I think, how I be with my kids, how I be with my wife, is all part of that, you know. So like, but what's the point? It's not money. I can promise you that's not why I'm doing it.
Yep.
Money just happens to be the byproduct of it.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to bring that up out of you a little bit more for the listeners, because most people, what I've learned at Orbit Expo, so you just talk about trees. It's like trees is the initiator.
Right.
You know, trees. I mean, luckily
it's the
we
first
all
branch.
Tree, but there you go. Exactly. See, that's the artist. You know, but it's the initiator in the sense of we're all in a common denominator of what we do, but we're also people that have other things going on in our lives. Yeah. You know, so you even just, and I know the listeners will recognize that you're actually a tree person by how you talked, not by what you said.
Sure.
And the last key point is when I just said it was when you said when you blow it down, you got to shovel it along curb like that. That is a tree person terminology thing to say.
Good.
Like, you don't say that unless you do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's the art. You know, like that. Like you didn't do that. Like you did it because it's the right thing to do and all that stuff. But like you just know your art is not done until it's done.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. You know. So if you got to return, that's fine. Meaning it's a 2-day job.
Right.
But if you got to return because your art is sloppy, that's stupid.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I had a professor, not to go too far, but
no,
Doc, he probably still teaches at Rowan, and he very Jewish. And
Okay.
he would we'd pin all of our work to the wall, and we would do our critique at the beginning of every class. And his whole thing was about clean artwork. And he'd come over, he'd stand there, and this little short Jewish man, and you got a little schmutz over here. You got a schmutz.
You got what?
Schmutz.
Schmutz.
You've got a schmutz on your work.
Wow.
You smudged it up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like clean artwork. Like you don't want to hang. Like you don't want to go to a gallery and like hang dirty schmutzed up stuff. You don't want to then turn your job over to the client and be like, "This is our work."
You
and
know
we're
what?
gonna stamp it with a seal.
It makes me think of when you're done. What do you do? What's the last thing you usually do when you do your?
You frame it.
Well,
Is that what
right
you're talking
before that, like you finish your
Oh,
thing.
you take the eraser.
Right, but I'm fishing.
You're
for
prompting
something.
me.
You sign it.
Oh yeah.
You sign
Yes.
your art, right?
There
Yep.
you go. Yeah.
So are you going to sign your signature? You're going to put your signature on your
your
tree job, your artwork.
Correct,
You're going to sign that and hand it in,
Yeah.
and it's not done.
And some people will double down and be like, "Yeah, it looks great. What are you
Yeah,
talking
if
about?"
that's what you want to do. And they don't like me walking through stuff. Sometimes I walk with the client and I'm picking up little sticks and they're like I'm like no. This is what you paid me to do.
Yeah.
And there's times I'm like, yo, grab a
Get a
rake.
rake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And a bucket.
Hit this little area right here.
Exactly.
We must have missed it,
Yeah.
So,
That's cool.
but anyway, I don't know. I feel
I feel awesome. Yeah.
pretty
It's
good.
fun. I could do this all day.
Yeah. That's it. That's what
It's
we
easy.
see. At first, you started like, oh no.
I know, I'm like
Uh-oh.
nervous
Oh,
belly.
what's gonna happen? I'm gonna be interrogated. Like it's not an interrogation.
Yeah.
You know. But no, it's good. No, I thought we touched on the questions that I had. You know, so it was good to sit with you and connect with you on a deeper level. You know, because like I said, we have like a small window of time that we got. You know, to answer your question earlier about it, Mason saying like, do we know each other? And
Right.
it's a small window,
Yeah.
you know, but that's what's really cool about this stuff. You could dive deeper. The listeners got to listen to, and again, and I want to drive this home too because I think it's important. You made a point about being a female will never be a victim mindset.
Yep.
Agreed 100%. And then you made a point that you also don't want to bring that to light sometimes because it's like it's actually a factor that plays into reality.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing wrong.
It's just there.
I know, it's there, and the focal point of that is it's only being to the surface because of just how history played itself out up to this point, and this is a male-dominated industry, which just means there's more men
Oh,
than
yeah.
there is women. It's not. This is not like.
Well, and there's a reason for that too.
Correct.
It's just hard work.
It's hard work, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, what I'm getting at is like the point of having you as a female bring strength to what we're also doing with the podcast too. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, we have females, so you guys we're appeasing people.
Right,
we're
right.
not
You're hitting
looking
your,
at appeasing.
your quota.
Your quota,
right.
no, that's not the point.
She's our DEI.
Yeah.
guest.
Yeah, exactly.
I
You know what
didn't
I
wanna
mean?
say
It's
it.
yeah, it's like
No.
no. I don't like. We don't. I can speak to myself. I'm sure you agree, but
100%.
like, I don't believe in that. It's just like the idea is like there's reality. This is what we're doing. Shining a light. Speaking of my trauma, but shining a light on that is important, just so that it's always up in the forefront, as opposed to just being like, well, are you? You know, you're doing it. Like we're not doing anything other than what we can.
Listen, I would tie this to what you're saying because I think it's spot on. We tried to hit family dynamic because we know there's a lot of people that run family businesses.
Yeah.
We hit the parent-child,
Correct.
work relationship. She happens to be a female, which is great. And it is funny. Like, yeah, okay, it takes a certain amount of strength, this, that, whatever, power, yada yada. But when it comes, if I'm there are multiple things. Like if I was going out to do a job, I have no problem grabbing this kid and going like, let's have at it.
Yeah.
And I forget who I was telling. Well, Thigpen. I don't know if you heard him talk about.
I didn't. You guys already had the conversation when I came in, but he was talking about time with her.
Yeah.
that
I don't know if I even related that to you.
Maybe not.
Okay.
He said you showed up to a job. It might have been the big pine tree job with the poop, all the poop. It was a massive. There was like
15,
yeah, like
probably like
yeah.
that.
He's like, I
range.
show up and I'm like, I look and it was you and Madison, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Who else was with him? With you guys?
I feel like it was before Mike.
Okay. Okay. So whatever. But the primary part of his crew was like my 2 daughters.
Yeah.
And he goes, and I pull up and I go, okay. And he wasn't like, oh, this is my crew. He's like, all right, this is my crew. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then were you roping for him or were you and Madison?
No, I
or-
was roping. And it was a nightmare
And
because
he
of all
was-
the pine sap.
Oh, could you
Yeah,
see
but
it?
he was, his whole thing was like, all right.
Yeah. It was
Like-
a pleasure.
Cool,
It
yeah.
Like
was a pleasure.
and I told him, I was like, yo, man, my girls both like really appreciate it. And Thigpen, by the way, was a guest, our last guest,
What's it?
last episode.
Aw,
Yeah.
Figgy Sawdust.
Yeah. So he
There you go. Good job.
he spoke highly of you. And of course, as a dad, I was all puffed up. We
Yeah.
were at Pendel, sitting in Pete the Crayman's booth, kind of hanging out, and he was. So that made me proud that you both my kids, you know, had that work ethic and able to get it done. And you guys, it was not a little job.
Yeah.
Massive. And I say all that to say, like, I love how you said to bring power because I think that's important.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. No, that's it. You know.
Anyway.
So with that, all that to say, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah.
Having me was a
yeah.
pleasure.
Appreciate it.
You know.